What's going on, y'all? Welcome back to American Orthodoxy. I'm your host, as always, Benjamin Michael. Thank you for joining me today for our normal Thursday stream where we're going to be going over a debate reaction. We're going to be going over a hot topic today, which is the topic of whether Islam is compatible with the West. Inspiring Philosophy just had a conversation with 4 other Muslims. We're going to be live reacting to it. This is the first time I've seen this. The reason why we're going to be going over this topic is because I have an upcoming debate, which is going to be happening, unfortunately, early August. I pushed for July timeframe, but my opponent is pretty much booked up all through July. So we are doing August 8th on Tim Pool. It's going to be live streamed, and I'll get into the details on that in a second. Today, we got summer vibes with the short sleeves going on here. So first stream with short sleeves because, you know, it's white boy summer. So, you know, we're so back. But anyways, I want to get into a few things before we dive into the actual debate reaction. First of all, thank you guys for all the support over on my other platforms, especially on Instagram. I just landed a huge partnership that I'm going to be talking about with you guys that I'm very excited about. And it's right aligned with what I'm trying to do as far as literature and content. And so that's kind of why I don't like to do partnerships, but I'm making an exception for this one because it is something that I actually care about. It's a cause that I actually care about. And honestly, it's something that's really built into my content. Anyway, so all that being said, so for my opponent, for my upcoming debate is going to be this guy, Hassan Shibli, he works for Dan Bilzerian, or at least works with Dan Bilzerian. He's actually a Muslim scholar, and he is highly renowned really by the entire Muslim community, which is what I wanted, right? I wanted, you know, it's as much fun as it would be to debate, you know, like one of these blood sports guys. I personally, I think this is actually going to be better because this guy's actually respected, unlike someone like Junior, who I just dunk on the entire time, which is like super fun. Thank you for the super chats, by the way, for the Indian tax and the other trolls. I will be going through, as always, I'll go over super chats at the end. Please like and subscribe if you're not already subscribed to my channel. And then please like the live. Let's run it up and push it out to the algorithm. How are you guys doing today? You guys excited for the stream today? I'm excited for the stream today. We're back on a beautiful, beautiful Thursday afternoon. Afternoon for me. I don't know what it is for you guys. Maybe you're out on the West Coast. I don't know. Maybe you're overseas. I don't know. But it's afternoon for me. It's a beautiful afternoon. I think Saturday I will probably be over on Nick's channel at his time, which is 5 o'clock right now. That's my plan. I got to confirm with him. We had to miss the stream last week because I was traveling and networking in Washington. So we hopefully will make up for that stream today, this weekend. So all that being said, let's go ahead and dive in because we got about an hour and a half of content to go over. And so we are going to be live reacting to this. It's the first time I've seen this. Like I said, this is kind of the hot topic these days is whether or not Islam is compatible with the West. Of course, it is not. Islam has basically not developed at all since the 7th century, and particularly 7th century mix of like Talmudic and pagan and Gnostic nonsense, right? So there's nothing wrong with like not developing in the sense of like morality. Obviously, we believe that the faith was delivered once for all in the 1st century, and this is something that as an Orthodox Christian, maybe Muslims aren't really used to, you know, that sort of perspective, right? Engaging with that perspective. They're used to maybe these liberalized Christians, and we'll kind of see what Inspiring Philosophy does as far as like the route he goes in this conversation. But we are going to dive into it. I'm going to give, you know, an Orthodox perspective on all of it. But yeah, without further ado, let's dive into this conversation.
Is Christianity better for society than Islam?
I obviously say yes. And when we assert that, we have to, I'm hoping today we can touch on several topics because there are several things to look at when we're looking at these different religions and knowing which is going to produce better results. And that's the key here, which is going to produce better results. So whole well-rounded thing here. So we're not talking about which we think.
It's funny to me that this is even a debate, by the way, because it's like, bro, like who is mass migrating to Muslim countries, bro? Like nobody, right? Nobody is mass migrating to these countries. Like this is the reality with these debates, guys, is like, all we're doing really is exposing them. Like that's really what's going on here is we're exposing Islam, because it is literally like I posted about this last week, like how we need to stop debating and start deporting. But in order to deport, we have to debate in the sense of like we have to educate people, and so we have to expose what this religion actually is, right? And so that's why these conversations are important. That's why I will continue to partake in these conversations.
Is more moral. We're not talking about which we think is true. We're talking about which religion is going to produce better societies.
Yeah, and there are so many debates that have been done, and conversations about which is true. I mean, God Logic does great work on this. I mean, he absolutely cooks these guys. So does my boy Nick. And so, you know, the angle of like, hey, let's talk about which religion is true. Like, I feel like there's a lot of really good voices there, and it's really been exhausted. And I used to debate that stuff, a couple of years ago, but now I'm sort of moving the direction of like, we need to kick these people out of our countries. That's really where we're at now.
In terms of several metrics, Christianity just outperforms Islam on many, many, many important things. So I will start with 3. I'm hoping to get to more because there's a bunch of things. So I would say, first of all, Islam allows and promotes child marriage. That is extremely bad for society. That leads to harm done to girls, harm to their offspring, which leads to inferior societies. Islam also allows cousin marriage. Christianity, because of our ecclesiology, has gotten rid of cousin marriage. So that means that we have produced better societies because more cousin marriage leads to lower IQ, more birth defects, and actually less economic prosperity. And the third thing I'll bring up is actually the practice of polygyny. Islam does allow polygyny, but polygyny actually deteriorates society. If you don't know, polygyny is specifically, it's a form of polygamy where it's one man and multiple women. So polygamy can be one woman, several men, but polygyny is one man, several women. So those 3 things are 3 ways in which that Christianity has done away with through trial and error, through understanding of the natural world, through understanding of how we operate as a society, which has produced far better results. So dive in.
I'm curious why Akathis thinks that we took an L in Iran because we made a deal. What are you what are you referencing? I mean, we just made a deal with them for a ceasefire for 60 days, and Israel, we sent a copy. It was so funny. Israel wanted to see the deal before it was finalized, and Trump was like, no, but you can have a copy after it's done. So that was pretty funny.
Who wants to begin? Okay, yeah, so when it comes to the 3 critiques, I think obviously this needs some time to dissect. It's very general. There's a lot of data that we need to process. Mm-hmm. But to begin...
By the way, so I was trying to make a thumbnail for this video, guys. And Itachi, who's this Muslim chick over here, her wearing this stupid nonsense here on her face, bro. ChatGPT wouldn't even let me make a thumbnail with her in it. Like that was it kept flagging it for bullying. Like I literally was crashing out. I had to like cut her off and just do this dude because ChatGPT kept flagging me every time I included her in the thumbnail. It was ridiculous.
Trying to compare is obviously what we're establishing is that we have Islam, we have Christianity.
What does the deal have to do with? So someone says a fast track to incorporate Israeli military into U.S. military. Yeah, that's the other bill that was just introduced that involves merging securities, but that doesn't have anything to do with our Iran deal. So that's a bill that was introduced into Congress, but that doesn't have anything to do with the Iran deal. Akathis says, I'm specifically referring to America's goal to overthrow the Islamic regime. We failed. Essentially allowed Iran. Yeah, I mean, we were the ones who allowed the rise of the Islamic regime in Iran. Like that's our fault. That was our fault. Because we installed the Shah, and our involvement in the civil war there. So I mean, the unrest in Iran kind of is our fault. I'm not gonna lie. I mean, that's true for a lot of these countries.
If implemented in society, which one yields the better results, right? In terms of moral values that we can both agree upon, right? Now, when it comes to the first one, you said not only did you say that when we have Muslims that would practice child marriage, you specifically said that Islam allows it. So I want to quickly focus on that. Where did you get that understanding from that Islam allows child marriage, given the fact that the Messenger, peace and blessing upon him, explicitly says in an authentic narration, "La darar wa la dirar," no harm, no reciprocating harm. So the Messenger already
It's so funny when they start spewing Arabic, like knowing that we don't speak it. Like, bro, just say it. Just say it in English. Say it in normal speak, because nobody understands Arabic, bro. You're in America, all right? So it's so funny. They like do it to like flex.
When it comes to any relationship,
oh, congratulations, you speak Arabic because you're from a freaking brown country that speaks Arabic. Congratulations.
If there is harm involved, it's going to be impermissible. So how do you get around that? Now, if you're going to argue that a more fundamentalist approach of the Quran and the Sunnah would allow for this, rather than a traditional approach, that's a different argument. But you specifically said that Islam allows for it. So what would be the evidence for that?
So yeah, great. So yeah, let's start with that. So with regarding the harm principle to start, that's obviously interpreted differently. Because, for example, Sahih al-Bukhari allows for the killing of apostates, but that's going to harm them, but you're not going to throw that out. You're going to allow self-defense wars in Islam, but that's going to cause harm to invaders, so that's obviously going to be interpreted differently. The two main ways we know that Islam allows and promotes child marriage is with the Quran says that Muhammad is the pattern of conduct, but he married Aisha when she was 6 and consummated the marriage when she was 9. That is a child. There's no biological way that could not be a child. Therefore, it allows child marriage. And then, of course, Surah 65:4, which does allow girls.
Beautiful. Do you guys want to jump in, or should I continue?
Yeah. You were shaking your head. What did you want to say?
Well, I mean, I have many things to say. First of all, Islam does not in any way, shape, fashion, or form support any idea of pedophilia or underage marriage. Islam does not support anything like that at all. The Quran gives an age of marriage. It is very clear. It gives something called an age of marriage. And that age of marriage is when you reach puberty, in essence. Okay.
Puberty. So puberty is when you're mature. Has a 9-year-old ever completed puberty?
Sure.
Really? According to what?
Sure. I mean, this is life. These are things that happen.
Yeah, when we look at, for example, the classical text that he quoted, Bukhari himself has a narration where Aisha refers to herself as a woman, right? So if you wanna internally critique our sources regarding what it says, regarding when the marriage happens.
You say internal or external?
Internal.
I'm not. This is external critique. This is definitely.
By the way, according to UNICEF child marriage data and DHS surveys, Muslim countries, so here's some examples. Niger, 76% in the country of Niger, 76% of marriages are child marriages. Chad, Mali, and Bangladesh, 51%. 51%. So the question is like, why do these countries breed this? If it's true, and it's not, and we'll get into, I think he's going to quote Ibn Kathir. If he doesn't, I will show you guys Ibn Kathir's tafsir. If it's true that Islam does not allow child marriage, why is it so common in these Muslim countries? 76%? 76%? That's insane. That's an insane number. And by the way, the number, let me see if I have, yeah, it's by the same source, UNICEF data on Europe and North America, it's less than 5%. So like they'll bring up, oh, what about Epstein? It's like, bro, like we're talking about a drop in the bucket. 0 to 5% compared to 76%.
Definitely external critique.
How do you come to conclude that the marriage was at 6 and 9?
Because that's what your sources teach.
Beautiful.
But then you're also saying she's not a child, and I'm saying that's just incompatible with reality.
By the way, I cannot stand talking to these people. Beautiful. They say this stuff like, okay, perfect, beautiful. They do this bullshit, and oh my goodness, it just drives me crazy.
Okay.
There is no such thing as a.
Yeah, he just said, your book allows for child marriage. Okay, beautiful.
9-year-old
what
woman,
are you talking
the
about?
hips on a girl do not develop until the ages of 15 or 17. Puberty is not complete. There is no possible world where it's biologically the case a 9-year-old could be anything but a child.
Okay. Would you say that in order to be able to conceive and bear children, etc., you would have to have gone through some of the stages of puberty?
You would have to go through all the stages of puberty. So, for
Okay,
example,
good.
there was a
Wait.
cross-sectional study done that actually showed that girls that were 15 and under had 4 times higher the rate of death in childbirth.
Okay, so you said that it's never happened where this was the case, right?
There's no case where a 9-year-old could have completed puberty, no.
Okay, but hold on 1 second. I'm saying for somebody to get pregnant, they would have had to have gone through all the stages, correct?
No, they have to go through at least standard stage 4 because at the end of standard stage 4 is
Would
when
you
they have
consider
puberty.
that person to be pubescent or prepubescent?
Did they have their first period?
I'm saying they got pregnant, so they would have already.
If they
had their
got
period.
pregnant, then they're post-pubescent. Yes.
Good. So there's an example. I don't know if you know who it is. Her name is Lena Medina. She was
my
5 years
gosh.
old when she first got pregnant. Obviously, we don't agree with the means that she got pregnant by, but it's to show that it is the case that this is something that could still
Do you see
happen.
the host's reaction, bro? Like this is what I'm saying, guys. We gotta get them on these big screens, and we gotta get them to say, yeah, 5-year-olds, bro. We should be impregnating 5-year-olds. Like that is what we gotta get them to say. That is what we gotta get them to say, like publicly, bro. Like that's what she's using as an example, and you can see the host face, bro.
Okay, I got a
And
question
this is
about
something
that.
that happened more
I got a
moderately.
question. So you said if they have their period, they're a woman, they're an adult, they're post-pubescent. Was that 5-year-old an adult?
Yeah, so insofar as what I asked you, I was asking you in regards to
job
what your
flipping it
criteria
around.
is that you're establishing. Right now, I don't think there is a criteria that you're actually.
Yeah, exactly. So what IP just did is he flipped it on her, right? He was like, okay, so you're bringing this up as an example, right, of how a 5-year-old, because she's arguing that means that they're post-pubescent, right? A 5-year-old. That's what she's arguing. And so IP's like, bet. Say it with your chest. Say it with your chest. Are you saying the 5-year-old is an adult? Is that what you're saying? And notice how she backtracked immediately.
Giving in regards to what is considered to be a child, what is considered to be
Okay,
adult.
I'll give it.
So,
I'll give it. You have to complete puberty. That is not completed till 15 to 17. That's why we as a society, we assign adulthood to the age of 18. Anything under 18 is a child. That 5-year-old is not a woman. She's a child. She should not be married off.
Okay.
So how do you respond to the argument from natural law, which we see that, for example,
gosh.
Paul appeals to within Romans and Corinthians, that we can look at nature to be able to come to reason, and we see that there was no critique of this specific marriage of Muhammad والسلام, prior to the 19th century, which means that nobody prior to the 19th century made that critique, although he was...
What does that have to do with natural law? Can we appeal to natural law? There was no critique of this marriage until the 19th century. Bro, what? How does that follow at all?
As for other things, right? Other critics have made other points regarding it, but nobody made it regarding the marriage between him and Aisha radiallahu anha. So if you conclude that we both agree on the standard of natural law and come into reason through nature and what God has instilled in us through...
I wasn't planning on bringing up Aisha, bro, in my debate. But this is weak. This is weak sauce, bro. Their response. I hope, bro, I'm begging a Muslim to try to bring up a 5-year-old as an example, bro, because I am not letting them run. If I was right here, I would say, no, Itachi, you brought up the 5-year-old. Are you saying the 5-year-old is an adult because they were able to get pregnant? That was the point she was making. Make her say that shit, bro. Make her say it.
Who we are as human beings, and would agree that we would expect that if it was the case that it was abhorrently immoral during that time, how come we don't have that critique part of the 19th
I
century?
got where you're coming from. Okay,
This
so
is
here's
a
the first
deflection,
problem.
by the way. This is a
Practically,
complete deflection. This is not actually a criticism of his argument, because he pointed out simply that, hey, he gave a definition. They were like, what's the definition of an adult? He said someone who has completed puberty, which is very important. Completed. Not started, not able to get pregnant. No, completed it. That was his criteria. And then they deflected to, oh, this criticism wasn't brought up. This is literally an argument from silence, by the way. This criticism wasn't brought up until the 19th century, which, by the way, I'm going to fact check that later to see if that's even true.
a lot of the hadith were not known in the Western world. So that's the first problem. The second thing
That's
is
true.
Muhammad is supposed to be the pattern of conduct for Muslims, for people.
Yeah, when did Sahih al-Bukhari even get translated? Because this is the stuff too with like the Talmud, bro. Bro, Sahih al-Bukhari wasn't even translated to English until 1932. 1932. So obviously, how can they critique it? You think Muslims are going to be like parading around that, you know, their prophet married a 6-year-old? So this wasn't even, we didn't even have access to this. The same thing happened with the Talmud, by the way. It took forever for the Talmud to get translated into our languages. What about Latin? Let's see when it was translated into Latin. I'm just curious. It's never been translated into Latin. Sahih al-Bukhari has never been translated into Latin. So, okay, this is a terrible argument from him, bro. This is a horrible argument. So he goes, well, it was never critiqued. Bro, it wasn't even translated into our English, into our languages until 1932. So of course nobody is calling this out. It's not like you guys are parading around that your prophet married a 6-year-old. We weren't even able to find out until 1932.
On all times. And he's supposed to be getting divine revelation from God. Yet he's a girl. That's evil. That's setting a bad example for humanity. And this doesn't matter. All this shows at the end of the day is Muhammad was a product of the corrupt, backwards culture of his time. We now have the scientific evidence to know that is wrong. And
he's saying beautiful. Bro, he's talking about marrying a child and you're saying beautiful. This is how retarded these people are, bro. I cannot stand, their rhetoric is so frustrating. I just cannot wait to deport these people.
Never been prescribed by some sort of apparently omniscient deity. Apparently.
Right, so what your response is that actually the reason why we don't see that critique is because there is no access to the ahadith at that point. First of all, that's not even true.
I didn't say that. I said that practically. It says the pragmatic aspect.
Right, like on a mass scale, right?
Yeah, on a mass scale.
However, we know that there is a lot of critiques that were raised against Muhammad ﷺ. And amongst those critiques, none of them were regarding the marriage. So the argument will still follow. Why? Because we do have the critiques.
Yeah, it was probably based on the Quran, bro. It was probably based on the arguments that your scholars and your theologians were making. So our theologians are responding to the arguments that yours are making, right? And again, your theologians are not parading around that your prophet married a 6-year-old. So of course it's not one of the critiques.
Mean that people have access to the Quran, people have access to the Sunnah, such as John of Chrysostom, for example, who critiques Muhammad ﷺ in his writings.
Whoa, wait. Did he just say John Chrysostom? Guys. Bro. There's no way this dude just said John Chrysostom. He, of course, means John of Damascus. Bro. He just said John Chrysostom. Do you guys know when John Chrysostom lived? John Chrysostom lived like 200 years before Muhammad. So this dude just said John Chrysostom was critiquing Prophet Muhammad, bro.
Yeah, we don't find a critique about child marriage, right? So we still see that you saying that it wasn't widely accessible is irrelevant. Why? Because you have a big sample data where there's a lot of critiques regarding it, and not a single one pattern in the 19th century.
So let's go on that. So
I wish IP would have called him
the
out
natural.
I wish IP would have called him out on that, bro. I cannot believe this dude just said John Chrysostom, bro. Bro. Guys, John Chrysostom, he critiqued Muhammad, guys. Guys, if John Chrysostom critiqued Muhammad, bro, Christianity is true. Okay, because that means he was foretelling. He was foretelling 200 years prior. He was foretelling 200 years prior. Because Muhammad was born in 570. And John Chrysostom lived, mid 300s to early 400s. So, bro, if John Chrysostom was critiquing Islam, bro, Christianity is true. All right, that's just like, you guys got to throw in the towel, bro.
What, as Immanuel Kant said, out of the crooked timber of humanity, nothing straight has ever grown. I agree, there were plenty of humans in the past that believed bad, corrupt, wrong things. They're not the standard. Like the Quran says, Muhammad. Hold on, let me finish. I'll let you finish. They're not the standard. They're not getting their information from omnipotent God. We now know today, this is wrong. This is bad. The temporal lobes are not even developed in a 9-year-old to properly.
This is a bad response from IP. I'm not gonna lie. This is not great, because once again, like, the notion that they didn't have, all they had access to was the arguments. First of all, St. John Damascus is refuting the Quran primarily, right? He attacks some particular surahs. So, you know, he's really attacking the Quran. And once again, our theologians that are refuting Islam are going after the arguments that they're making, and nobody is parading this around that their prophet married a 6-year-old.
Communicate or express or understand activity. So if you're having, you're messing.
By the way, I think IP would agree with me that that's a better response. Like, no hate. Like, I love IP. IP's great. I'm just saying that I think that he would agree that that would be a better response. Obviously, this is in the moment. You know, in hindsight, it's easy to look back. You know, I would make mistakes too.
Mentally. Not only can you, all these physical problems, it's also mentally bad. It's socially bad. This is not good for anyone. We know that now. So Islam is allowing this. You guys are kind of defending it, which I'm shocked. It's child marriage. We should just reject, everyone out here should be outright, yes, child marriage is wrong. It should be abolished around the world.
We literally agree. We literally, before we began, we clarified that Islam, we don't believe there's something known as child marriage. Right? We already clarified that.
So, but I said child under the age of 18. Do you agree a child is under the age of 18?
No,
right. Again,
that's subjective.
I want to respond to this. So, said, I saw your Tim Pool thing about third-generation migrants. I think you should change it to second-gen. And then it got cut off. I'm sure you were about to say that you're a third generation or something. So I explained in the video, though, the problem with this is that you have, I didn't shit on Arabic, bro. What are you talking about? What are you talking about? I said that we know you're from Arabic-speaking countries. That's why you speak Arabic. I have no, like, Arabic is, some of those chants are beautiful. No, but sorry, I'm responding to other comments to those that are watching this back. I gotta lock in. So on the immigration issue, so the problem that, and I brought this up, right? You have to cut it off at a certain point, but you have a lot of these sort of like districts that have their own, like, they literally are just like intermarrying with themselves. They don't even speak English in these communities. They don't even teach English. And so I don't think second generation is sufficient. Honestly, I've even considered extending it to fourth generation. But look, all I'm saying is that hey, if you commit a violent crime or fraud of $100K, and then you're not eligible for welfare. Those are the two things. So if you commit a violent crime or $100K in fraud, automatic deportation, and then you're also not eligible for welfare. Now, there's other problems with the welfare state, right, that we have to fix. So, I mean, you shouldn't be concerned. If you're a third-generation migrant, why are you concerned, right? Because you're not going to commit $100K in fraud, and you're not going to commit a violent crime. So it's like, why are you worried? And why are you even asking for welfare if you're only a third-generation migrant, right? So yeah, that's kind of my argument there. Yeah, I mean, at a bare minimum, like, we're definitely, like, listen, I believe in shutting down the border, like I said, for at least 25 years. Like, we're shutting down the border for at least 25 years. Yeah, this is another problem. So they're now they're intermarrying in an even smaller population. So there's even more inbreeding, right? Which we know there's a positive relationship between inbreeding and low IQ. So, and then there's a positive relationship between low IQ and violent crime and other types of crime. So thank you for the super chats. As always, I will go over all the super chats at the end. So if you want to support me, right now, all of my money that I'm making is going to be going back into my account for boosting clipping channels. So if you want to help drive traffic back to my account, so you want to get the message out there, you can do that by supporting me. By memberships is the best way, because memberships is regular monthly. I think I have it set to what, $5.99 a month. So if you're wanting to support me monthly, you can sign up for memberships. Thank you to all my members. I have 50 members right now, which is a huge blessing. And I do members only streams. I will be doing a members only stream at the end of this, as always, or pretty much always. So if you want to stick around for members only stream, I got a Saints quote for you today that's a little bit too spicy for my main channel. I usually show like Saints quotes that are too spicy for the main channel. That's why I do that for my members only stream. And then also, please like and subscribe if you are not subscribed. please do so and like the live. Let's get the likes up so that we can push this out to the algorithm. All right, back to business.
Okay,
Yeah,
then we don't. You don't think child marriage should be outlawed?
Real quick, but hold on, you switched it because a second ago you said that someone who's an adult is someone that completed puberty and that could have between 15 and 17. Now all of a sudden you're saying under 18. So I'm very confused on which time you want.
Let me clarify.
Let me finish. Now, regarding Islam, our stance is very simple. Islam
He should be able to clarify, bro.
is going to be dependent upon the circumstances of the individuals. Meaning, if it was the case that at a specific point in time, it wouldn't entail physical or mental harm, and someone would have been post-pubescent and fully mature, then the marriage can be done, right? However, if it is going to entail, such as today, and this is the people according to Peter D. Glockman, when he mentioned this, if it is going to entail harm today, meaning that people can attain pubescence, but they don't attain monarchy, right? It is going to be the case that today would entail harm, therefore would not be allowed Islamically. It's very simple. Now, regarding your point regarding how, we know that there's humans around the world that have justified bad things happening in society. Well, the thing is, we're talking about a universal aspect, meaning that all humans, everyone who's critiquing Muhammad, none of them recognize this something that's inherently abhorrent.
Well, hold up. I gotta address, you've been going for a while. Let me address all these points.
I'm about to
Finish up. You get 20
now,
seconds.
Paul is the one that appeals to natural law. Obviously, we know that when it comes to natural law, when it comes to knowing these things that are known by disposition,
What does
they
this
are
have to
known
do with
prior
anything, bro? Why does he keep
to
bringing this up?
revelation, right? So if it is the case that they're known prior to revelation, we would expect at least someone to make that critique.
Okay, now I'm going to respond. You've talked for a while. I'm going to go on for a couple minutes here. So first of all, not everyone around the world had access to the Hadith. Okay, there's a problem here. It's not like we had a big global community and all voted, I think Muhammad was bad. This happened in 1857. No, it did not happen. So this is, you're appealing to something that just did not happen. So let's go back to me trying to tell you what a child is here. Let's start with this because we need to get over this, okay? So we know puberty is complete between the ages of 15 or 17. We can't, as a society, constantly be going around checking hip development, 10 or stage 5 development. That is impractical. So we just assign adulthood to the age of 18. That's still far better than 9. That's the problem right there. Now, if you want to talk to what ancient people did, we can talk about that. So Michael Satlow talking about the ancient...
Do you guys get what he's saying? So he's saying, look, it's completed between 15 and 17, but it's case by case. So as a society, we've determined... By the way, Byzantium also agreed 18 was the age of consent. So basically, as a society, we have a blanket age that we have determined, which is 18, and that's because we know that the vast majority of people have completed puberty by age 18.
Jews in Palestine said they were marrying girls on average between the ages of mid-teens to early 20s. Amram Troper says late teens to early 20s. Brent Shaw in the Roman Empire, he says late teens to early 20s, so does Keith Hopkins. Then you get to the Middle Ages. Kim Phillips in her book Medieval Maiden says again, yeah, that's the thing. So it was not a normal practice to be marrying a 6-year-old, let alone... This is evil, and if Muhammad is the pattern of conduct, that's setting a bad example. That's going to sign. So they were marrying girls on average between the ages of mid-teens, 10 or stage 5 development. That is impractical. So we just assign adulthood to...
I'm going to write down the sources he just gave for that, because
the age of
that's something they bring up quite a bit. I missed it.
That's still far better than 9. That's the problem right there. Now, if you want to talk to what ancient people did, we can talk about that. So Michael Satlow, talking about the ancient Jews in Palestine, said they were marrying girls on average between the ages of mid-teens to early 20s. Amram Troper says late teens to early 20s. Brent Shaw in the Roman Empire, he says late teens to early 20s, so does Keith Hopkins. Then you get to the Middle Ages. Kim Phillips in her book Medieval Maiden says...
I'm just going to DM him and ask him for it.
Again, yeah, that's the thing. So it was not a normal practice to be marrying a 6-year-old, let alone... This is evil, and if Muhammad is the pattern of conduct, that's setting a bad example. That's going to lead to all sorts of harm, as it has around the world. UNICEF reports high levels of child marriage in North Africa, in the Middle East. This is horrible.
Beautiful.
We are torturing these girls.
Beautiful.
Why would we not want to reject
We
that
are
and say,
torturing
yes,
these girls.
Child marriage should be outlawed around the world. No one should be getting married around the ages of under the ages of 18. And yes, if you're going to bring up random U.S. states that allow it, I condemn them as well.
Hold on, guys. Did you know that over 80% of people that watch these videos are not subscribed? And that's the best way to support a member. All right, now let's get back to...
Yes, subscribe to my channel. Please subscribe to my channel.
The discussion.
The topic is, right, Christianity versus Islam, which one's better for society? So what he's saying to you in regards to Paul appealing to natural law, etc., that's going to be the criteria that we're going by. here, right? We're going back Christianity versus Islam. Islam itself doesn't give a particular age; it gives a criteria. Christianity
And I say that's bad.
1 second.
I say that's bad.
Christianity also does the same thing. It doesn't give a particular age. Okay. I think you appeal sometimes to Ezekiel 16. There's also the passage in 1 Corinthians 7, right? Neither of those two gives an age. They only give a physical. Or, yeah. So
let me address that. Let me address that.
I'm not done.
Okay, finish up. I want to address the passages you brought up.
Okay, so I'm not appealing to the passages in particular, by the way. But my point being is that in you saying there's a particular age that we have to go by, etc., well, that age is not something that's going to hold up in regards to society for every single society. As he quoted for you from Peter D. Gluckman's paper, menarche and mental maturity is something which used to be in line at some point, and now what we find is a fluctuation between the two of them, whereby in today's society, we don't find them being the same. They're going to be vastly different.
Right.
Go ahead.
Okay, so
He already explained
hold on,
this.
let me address her, then we'll go to you.
He already
yeah,
explained this.
So on this whole issue, yes, I agree that it doesn't set an age, but Ezekiel 16 says that you cannot, the age for love making does not happen.
18 is historical for Christians. That's what I just talked about. Byzantium had 18 as the age of consent as well.
Until after she has basically completed puberty. The breasts are fully formed, her hair is fully grown. She has to
Which
complete it.
translation is
Hold
this
on, let me finish. So that's the issue right there. But again, at the end of the day, we're talking about the effects of society. Christian societies are outlawing this. We don't see 9-year-olds.
There's a question in the super chats about my debate with Junior. I'll get to it at the end. As always, I'll go over all super chats at the end.
Getting married in America. We don't see it happening in Europe. This is bad. But you guys over here are saying, yes, it's perfectly fine to take a girl to...
We
And we should be okay with
already
that.
said that we shouldn't do that because of these studies that we've shown you, and you're not responding to them
Yeah,
for some odd reason.
Just,
Can you have sex?
Nobody should be having intercourse with someone who's 9 years old because
So
that
then
would-
Muhammad was a sinner.
No, it doesn't follow.
Insofar as today-
Yes, it does.
It doesn't
No, it
follow.
doesn't.
You know why it doesn't follow? Because at that point, it didn't entail harm.
Yes, it did.
Okay, and I'm giving you a reason why it didn't.
Yes, it did.
Can you address that? According to Peter D. Gluckman,
What's the name of the paper?
development.
Evolution, development, and the timing of puberty.
Exactly, beautiful. And he makes the conclusion in his graph that there was a point when menarche and pubescence were in correlation. That is no longer the case.
No, you're confusing. You're confusing the chart. The chart is age of menarche and social cycle development.
Exactly.
That's the point, though.
Were they matching at some point?
What was that? Yeah, they were.
Are they
Yeah.
matching? Are they matching today?
No, they're not. No, but that's not the
Beautiful.
point.
Thank
the
you.
point is that the green on the chart, what you're pulling up there, the green shows when age of menarche happened. And at that time, they're saying, well, the girls didn't need that much education at that time to develop. So they could be more implemented in society quicker. But now we have more education because it's better for them. Thank good for the West promoting more education. Amen to
And
that.
Islam.
So so let's go on to that. So, but that's the problem. Age of menarche did not happen according to that paper at 9. There is no possible
That's
way. Hold on,
irrelevant.
let me
That's
finish.
literally
Let me
a straw
finish.
man.
Let me finish.
Go ahead.
There is no possible way that Aisha could have reached puberty, could have had her first period at 9, according to the paper you cited, because that shows it had to happen after the age of 10, and that was at least 1% only.
wait, hold on. So you agreed with me earlier when I first asked you in regards to somebody getting pregnant, they would have to have their period first, right?
Yes, and Aisha couldn't.
Okay, but I gave you an example. You said it's an impossibility. Is it logically impossible
Is it logically impossible for what?
for somebody to not have their period before 9? Or
By the way, there was like a window in Byzantium of age of consent. It was. I'm gonna dig into this because there was a window. Like it was between like it's some of it says like 25 was like the as old as 25 was like the age of marriage. So it basically fluctuated between 14 and 25 at various times. 25 is crazy. I don't know why it was that, but so I gotta look more into that. But the point is, it was well within the window of when they were completed and their in puberty.
at 9?
No, wait, hold on. What are you saying? This doesn't
You said
follow
it's
what I was
impossible
saying.
for her to have had her period by then, correct?
Biologically, yes.
Okay, and I gave you an example of today.
Today,
Modern
today,
day.
yeah.
Modern day.
legal. This is according to here. This is a paper in academia.eu. I may not be able to actually pull it up because I may have to pay for it. But full accountability was not reached until age 18 for women and 20 for men.
A girl who's at the age of 5 had her period and she was pregnant as well.
Yeah.
So it's not impossible.
So basically what you're saying is there was this crazy genetic
She's not
fluke.
the only, no, it's
Hold
not
on,
the only thing.
The
I'm giving you an
reason why that can
example by
happen today
name.
is because, according to the paper you cited,
Right.
nutrition has gotten better. And if nutrition gets better, that means the age of menarche starts to lower. But in the time of Muhammad, it wasn't. It was higher.
Really?
So yeah,
That's
that's
not
what
what
the
the
chart
study says,
says.
though.
The study says more than that, though.
One second,
That's what the
guys.
chart
I'm
says.
sorry.
That's what the chart
Real quick,
says.
good.
Yeah, so Imam al-Shafi'i, okay, he's somebody who comes after Muhammad, peace be upon him. He speaks about the individuals of his time period,
Right.
as well as Aisha radiallahu anha, by the way, but this is afterwards. So Imam al-Shafi'i, rahimahullah, he speaks about the people that come after in his time period, okay, and he says that he has observed with his own eyes where an individual who was 9 years old, okay, she gave birth to one child, and then her child
Where's
gave
it say
birth.
that?
Yeah, this
What
is in
source?
his books.
What's the source?
It's a Risala.
So it's an Islamic
Risala.
source.
He's a historian.
He's observing
because
it.
he's someone that's contemporary to that
A
time
Muslim
and he's making
historian.
observation.
Guys, no, it's okay that Muhammad married a 6-year-old because this Muslim historian said that it was normal for the time. All right, that's what you're not getting, IP. You're just not tracking. All right, you're just not clocking this. All right, this Muslim historian actually refutes you because he said, guys, no, it was totally normal to marry a 6-year-old, bro. It was totally normal. So no, you're neutral historian saying it wasn't normal. No. You got IP. You're not tracking, bro. You got to listen to this Muslim guy. He knows what's going on. All right, he knows what's going on.
I said this was an external critique.
Oh,
I'm
oh my
saying
goodness.
that if that was
Does that mean we're
can't
talking about
happen.
historical
Yeah, we're talking about
references?
historical
You've studied
dates.
now two sources that contradict each other. The paper, Evolution, Development, and the Timing of Puberty, shows that could not have happened.
No, it
But then
doesn't-
you
it doesn't-
said,
wait, what does
but
it say
according
that
to our
it could-
Islamic
wait,
sources,
why does it say that could not
hold
happen?
up. According to
that's
Islamic
what it
sources,
does. Who say that?
it did
It says
happen.
literally they can have earlier
Therefore,
miracles.
you just said Islam contradicts reality. Thank you.
So real quick, you're making a few blunders. First of all, the study never says it couldn't have happened because the study, number one, it doesn't account for the specific sample within Middle Eastern countries. That's number one, and it doesn't account for.
So he's presupposing once again, hey, the paper is wrong because the Middle Eastern sources, which is the Muslim source that he just cited, says otherwise.
anomalies. That's number two. Number three, Imam al-Shafi'i in Risala, he does
It
mention.
does account for anomalies because it's claiming, IP's whole point is that the paper is saying it's impossible for this to happen. Welcome to memberships, brother. Here, let me get you on the screen. Abstract, welcome to memberships. As always, I will do a members only stream at the end today, and I'll give you guys some spicy Saints quotes. So if you want to tune into the members only stream, you can sign up for memberships to support me monthly. I appreciate it.
And he's someone that's contemporary to
So
that
let's
time.
go on that. Anomalies. We're talking about which is better. Anomalies.
So real
So
quick,
if an anomaly happens, it's okay to have sex with them?
Can you let me finish? Again,
It's okay to have sex with
let
them?
me finish. So, no, you shouldn't do that. I already clarified.
Whoa, okay, good.
So,
good.
so
here we
again,
go.
Let me finish. So again,
Here we
know
go.
in the case, according to the study, in the case that someone.
By the way, guys, Muslim Orthodox Muslim literally said, I tweeted out about it because this dude literally said that IP lost this debate, bro. Here, let me find my tweet so I can show y'all. This is why we need to deport these MFs, bro. This is why we gotta this is why, bro. This is crazy. This is crazy, bro. This is crazy. So this dude about this debate says that inspiring philosophy got crushed. That he got crushed in this debate. So I was like, yo, man, like, what are we doing here, bro? What are we doing here? Like, this is why we need to freaking deport these people instead of debating with them. Because IP is smoking these dudes, bro. He's smoking them. An Orthodox Muslim who, by the way, I guess he lives in Canada. He lives in Canada. Which, by the way, guys, sorry if there's any Canadians in here. Canada might end up burning, bro. Canada might be the one that burns to teach the rest of us a lesson. Because I don't see very many people fighting over there, fighting for their nation. And Canada doesn't really have the national identity that even Australia and the United States have. Definitely doesn't have the identity that the UK has. So I am very worried. I'm very worried about Canada. I'm not going to lie. Now, Lord willing, they will maybe we'll liberate them. Maybe what'll happen is Canada will be cooked, and then we'll go liberate them. We'll go liberate the Islamic Society of Canada.
Is pubescent at that time, it wouldn't entail harm. That's by your concession because you said
No, I didn't.
You said it because you said that it's not possible for actually to have been pubescent. If it was the case, then according to you and the conclusion they made from the study, then it would follow indeed, right?
You're taking what I said out of context.
No.
No, let me clarify.
So,
I did not.
Yeah, it's possible that someone said Alberta has that identity. Yeah, it's possible that they'll balkanize. If they balkanize, maybe they can salvage.
Say I said there was no. I was talking about prepubescent. Aisha was prepubescent.
We disagree with that.
Yeah, we
So at that
disagree.
point,
By
but
her
in
own
terms of
words, she
harm,
says that she wasn't.
when I was talking about harm, I mentioned physical and mental harm as well.
Beautiful.
So it doesn't matter. You're having.
He's
Totally.
saying beautiful and talking about physical harm to children. Beautiful. Beautiful. Bro, get the hell out of my country. Get on an airplane, bro. Just get on the plane, bro. Just put the fries in the bag and get on the
it's
airplane.
going to be harmful to them. We should reject this. Sex with
Why are we praying for Father Ron? What's going on with Father Ron? Is everything okay with Father Ron?
anyone under 18 should be
He's in
outlawed.
Canada. Oh, he's in Canada. I'm retarded. I'm sorry. He's in Canada? I didn't know Father Ron was in Canada. I totally forgot about that.
Is that according to
Islam says it's
Christianity?
okay.
Is that
That's
according
evil.
to
Can we make like a
Christianity?
final point and move to like
Hold on.
a second
Yeah.
I
point?
just want to know, is that according to Christianity or is that according to...
I get it. Ezekiel 16,
modern,
yes.
Modern secular
According to
society.
Ezekiel 16.
Ezekiel 16
What
is giving you a
translation?
number. It
'Cause,
doesn't say
yeah,
18.
it says
a
entered
translation.
puberty in the
Wait.
NIV.
No.
Yeah, and it gives you,
Let me read it.
hold on, it gives
I
you
gotta read it.
certain
NIV.
indications of pubescence.
Hold on, let me
which
read
Bro
we
it.
said,
also don't
bro
disagree
said
with.
NIV, bro. Bro said it says entered puberty in the NIV. Get out of my country, bro. Bye.
That's right.
Let me read it.
Pubic hair, the growing of breasts, etc. Those are also indications that we have as well. So that doesn't contradict Islam.
So when does puberty complete?
yeah, again,
Notice there's not internal debate with other Christians about this. Notice how there's no Christians that are arguing you can marry a 9-year-old, bro. Isn't that crazy? Notice how it's just the Muslims. See, the Muslims have internal debate about this shit. They can't decide. And I bet you behind closed doors, these guys are not arguing this way, bro. It's just to save face. It's just to save face because they know that they're cooked if they straight up say it. So notice how they try to save face, right? Behind closed doors, they're debating this shit. They don't know. This is why in certain Muslim countries you have as high as 76% of child marriage. 76%. Because they can't even decide amongst themselves. Are Christians debating this, bro? How many Christians are out here debating whether or not you can marry a child? But they're trying to say, oh, this is also the Christian belief because in the NIV of Ezekiel 16, it says entered puberty. Come on, bruh. Get out of my
Can we,
country.
let's
When
allow
does
Leave.
puberty
Yeah,
complete?
the shift to get a word in as well.
So can puberty
Leave while you
complete
still have the
between the
option.
ages of 15 or 17?
Is
So
that
it
the
says
case
here in
everywhere?
Ezekiel 16 when he's talking about the girl, he says, okay, I made you flourish like a plant of the field.
Wait, so 15
and
is
you
okay,
grew up, hold
Aki?
up, you go, man, calm down. It's
Go
okay.
ahead.
So,
Go ahead.
I'm just reading. And you grew up and became tall and arrived at full adornment. Your breasts were formed and your hair had grown, yet you were naked and bare. When I passed by you again, I saw you, and behold, you were at the age of lovemaking. So when the breasts are formed, when she is fully formed, then is the age for lovemaking. So according to this principle in Christianity that we get from the Bible, no, you have to wait till she is finished. That's the age of lovemaking. Meanwhile, in Islam, you're saying, no, it can happen before that. That's bad. That's harmful. The studies all show this. Do you deny that the studies don't show child marriage is harmful?
No, I agree with that. We already got
You
this.
agree that? Okay,
and
great.
Under Islam,
Great.
wait,
Holy
real quick.
straw man.
And under Islam, anything that's harmful is going to be impermissible. Now, let's get that out of the way.
Hey, quick break from the show. I want to give a big shout out to Logos. So Logos is actually my favorite Bible study app. Check out my bundle.
Did Muhammad consummate the marriage at 9?
That's not.
Did he consummate the marriage at 9?
Does 9 automatically necessitate a child?
Yes. Did he consummate the marriage at 9?
You still haven't proven that.
Yeah,
you
there
haven't.
is
You still haven't proven that a 9-year-old is a child. She thought that was a gotcha, bro. She really thought she cooked with that one. She really thought she cooked. She really thought she cooked. Oh, you haven't proven that a 9-year-old is a child. She used a 5-year-old as an example earlier and refused to say that the 5-year-old was an adult. Someone asked if I'm going to be going on the show with Brian. He's wanted to have me on a couple times, and I told him I would come on to talk. I want to debate Christian Zionists, bro. I was like, bro, let me bring 4 Christian Zionists on, and I will debate them. I will debate 4 Christian Zionists.
Yeah, you literally just said 15 to 17. Okay, fine. Is that the case globally?
Yes.
No, it's not.
Yes, it
I can literally
is.
bring
I can
you
explain
top
you why.
papers
I can
right
explain
now.
you why.
Hold on,
Yes,
hold on, hold on.
it is. I showed the child marriage data, bro. In Muslim countries, it's as high as 76%. In the West, bro, it's 0 to 5%.
Very simple.
I wasn't done.
I can explain to you really why.
I'm not done.
Quite simple. Hip development.
Okay.
Hip development.
Oh my God. Yeah, PubMed says that when it comes to puberty and when it comes to menarche, there's a paper. I could cite it for you if you want. I could bring it for you right now. Okay. It literally says that pubescence can be achieved at different points, and it's achieved via different social standards. When it comes to geographic, when it comes to economic, these are all different.
Yeah, Brian is the guy right here. This is his channel. The way.
Does it say
factors
it's
that come into
completed?
place. It literally talks about
Being
the
completed.
individuals going through puberty.
Being completed.
Yeah, so it goes from the age of 11 all the way up until
Being
the age of
completed.
17 to 18. It's
Being
completely different.
anything
what
show
you're saying.
hip development is complete at age 11.
Yeah, so it's talking
No,
about puberty.
there are none. It is biologically impossible for the hips of a girl to not be complete
Yeah, we
until the
can,
age
we can
of
allow,
15 to
you
17.
can make that up, and then we want to move on to the other facts as well. because if you just go on-
Let's move on. Let's move on. Bro, he buried them on that point. Oh my goodness. Once again, Orthodox Muslim, bro. You think that IP lost that? Are you high? Oh, no, wait. No, you're just inbred low IQ. Sorry. Yeah, bro, you are insane for thinking that IP lost that segment. He just slaughtered them. That was a slaughter. They are begging to move on, bro. They are begging to move on. They refuse to say whether a 5-year-old is an adult, right? After he destroyed them on Ezekiel 16, they're begging to move on. And you have the audacity to say that IP lost.
one thing
You
that we're
are
not going to
high.
be able to.
He said IP got crushed. Bro, he smoked all 4 of them.
I just want to know, did Muhammad
there's a-
consummate the marriage with a 9-year-old?
No.
He did not.
But what I'm saying,
She
what I'm
wasn't
saying here,
nine,
what I'm
yes or no?
saying,
You're not saying no to that.
Just
you're
say
saying-
yes or no and expound.
They're going to debate about that. They internally disagree about that then, because I know Itachi believes that, because she actually holds to the hadith. So whoever this clown is over here on the left obviously disagrees probably with these 3 who all are actually real Sunni Muslims who believe that he did indeed consummate the marriage at 9, which is what the hadith explicitly says.
What I'm saying here is that she was not a child at the time of marriage. She's not
Oh
a
my
child
gosh,
at the
bro.
time of
This dude
consummation.
is so low tier.
In fact, even in the traditional account, there's a waiting period.
Oh my
Now, this
gosh,
comes to the
bro.
other angle that I was trying to get to, is why do marriages take place in the first place? Marriages take place not just for intimacy. They take place, especially for a leader, they take place to establish alliances. And this, in a way, goes back to the issue of polygamy.
Who was Aisha's father?
Wait, this goes back to the issue of polygamy? Bro, what are we talking about here? This is why, listen, guys, don't marry your cousin, all right? This is a great example of why you shouldn't marry your cousin, all right? This is how your kids turn out if you marry your cousin, bro, all right? So just keep that in mind, all right? Just keep that in mind. Don't marry your cousin.
Abu Bakr.
Oh, he did establish an alliance with
Otherwise,
him?
your kid might turn out Muslim, all right? And they might think that it's okay to marry have sex with a 9-year-old. They might think that.
Understand how the Eastern culture is. Eastern culture
Oh,
is...
guys. It's okay to marry a 6-year-old because it's Eastern culture, bro. You know what? You know what Western culture is? Western culture is hanging people who have sex with 9-year-olds. That's my culture. So we're going to hang you now for believing that you can have sex with 9-year-olds, because that's part of my culture. You got to respect my culture, bro. It's part of my culture to put you to death now.
When you want to bring people together for various political or social reasons, you do so through the vehicle of marriage.
That doesn't change anything I'm saying, though.
No,
a
well,
9-year-old is always
hold
a
on.
child.
Hold on.
Always a child. What Muhammad did was evil. He's not a good moral example.
This
He
was a
should-
slaughter, bro. This was bad. This was really bad. This first segment, oh my goodness. Oh my goodness, dude. This is terrible. This is terrible optics. And this is what I'm saying. Like, this is the type of debates we got to be doing, bro. We got to make them own this shit. Oh my goodness, this was bad. Get the hell out of my country with this nonsense. Oh, a 5-year-old got pregnant. Get the freak out of my country, dude. Bye. Here's the airplane. You're lucky we're not giving you Vlad treatment. You are lucky we're not giving you Vlad treatment. Get the hell out of my country. Oh my goodness.
Be thrown out because he's actually causing all sorts of
What
harm.
about Yahweh?
We see this happening in Iraq. We see this happening in Sudan, in Yemen, where they think it's okay to start sleeping with children.
I guess
Unfortunately,
Moses
you're
says
just
the same
appealing to the
thing,
emotions. That's it. That's all you're doing. You're
I guess I said
You're appealing to emotions to say that 9-year-olds can't consent to the initially.
Yo, bro, shut up. Shut up.
You're appealing to the emotions.
So you think it's okay to...
How is that
just wanna be clear.
emotions? Bro, how is that appealing to emotions? If that's what you... bro, if you think that believing that someone should be post-pubescent to get married and have sex, that's appealing to emotions, bro, you can't be reasoned with. These people can't be reasoned with. This is my whole point. This is why they got to get the hell out, bro. We got to deport these people. You can't reason with somebody who says something like that. Oh, shit. Where were we at?
Behold, you were at the age of lovemaking. So when the breasts are formed, when she is fully formed, then is the age for love.
Through reason, and over time we can trial and test. For example, according to you in Deuteronomy 22, 28 to 29, your body today should be married.
I'm not talking about today, I'm talking about Muhammad. Did Muhammad consummate the marriage with a 9-year-old?
We were right here.
The issue of polygamy.
Who was Aisha's father?
Abu Bakr.
Oh, he did establish an alliance with him?
You don't understand how the Eastern culture is. Eastern culture is when you want to bring people together for various political or social reasons, you do so through the vehicle of marriage.
That doesn't change anything I'm saying.
Yeah, but if you can't, so
No,
that's true to an extent, right? That's true to an extent. You can have a marriage that isn't consummated until they are an adult, right? To make an alliance, that's different than they are arguing for consummating the marriage at 9. Okay? Because that actually is true. What he just said, in antiquity, it was common, right, for you to have an alliance marriage, right, between an adult and a child. But they wouldn't consummate, in the Christian culture, they wouldn't consummate the marriage until the child was actually an adult. That's the point. That's the difference between the Muslims and the Christians. We actually wait for them to become an adult, whereas the Muslims, they consummate the marriage when they're 9 years old.
Always a child.
Hold on.
Always a child. What Muhammad did was evil. He's not a good moral example. He should be thrown out because he's actually causing all sorts of harm.
What about Yahweh?
We see this happening in Iraq.
Yahweh?
We see this happening in Sudan, in Yemen,
Moses
where they think
married
it's
a child. Guys, Yahweh and Moses married children, bro. What are you,
Okay to start
what are you
sleeping with
talking
children.
about?
I guess
Unfortunately,
Moses
you're
says the
just
same
appealing
thing,
to the
though.
emotions. That's it. That's all you're doing. You're appealing.
I can cite studies. You want some studies?
You're appealing to the emotions.
I'll be right back.
So you think it's okay to... I just want to be clear.
No, nobody said on the panel.
No one said that.
I don't know. Wait, one second, real quick. I don't know why you keep going back to that same question we already answered like a few times.
You didn't answer.
No, we already said
Quite
no.
literally said
Nobody today should be married.
I'm not talking about today. I'm talking about Muhammad.
Let me finish.
I'm talking about Muhammad. Did Muhammad do something immoral?
No, we don't believe that.
Okay, so sleeping, having... is not immoral.
Hey, brother,
presence is a fallacy.
this is exactly what you're doing. You're saying that, hey, it was, it's immoral today, therefore it must have been immoral back then. But you would even agree, Mr. IP, that there's things that we can derive through reason, and over time we can trial and test. For example, according to you in Deuteronomy 22, 28 to 29, Yahweh it says that if somebody grapes a child, they can marry that child, right?
No, it doesn't. No, it does not. That is a lie.
Let me land.
That is a lie. That's not what the word tapas means.
Now,
It is what Paidan
No, it isn't.
now
That's
you
what
would say
Paidan means.
you would say that, hey,
Thanks for the super chats, guys. As always, I will go over all the super chats at the end. Please like and subscribe if you're not already subscribed to my channel. And stick around afterwards for my members only streams. You can sign up for memberships. I do members only streams at the end of all my streams. I'm live every Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday at 2 o'clock Eastern time. Thanks for tuning in today.
at that specific time point would be moral. But because, let me land.
No.
But because of how society operates today, because of what we know as Islam as urf, or aka accustoming to the natural custom of society, therefore will be deemed impermissible through reason, natural theology.
So, okay, right? Good. So we use our reason.
Beautiful.
So we need to develop on what the law
Thank you.
taught. No,
So wait, do you think that's not Islam?
He just kept talking. Now he wants to keep going. He
Go
won't
ahead.
let me respond. You see how that works? Kind of weird, isn't it? So anyway, let's go back to this. So here's the problem. You can't do that. Muhammad is getting revelations from supposedly an omniscient God.
Was Yahweh giving revelation?
Hold up. And he's saying, you're the pattern of conduct for humanity. Oh, and by the way, you can have there, according to him, because he got some dream from Allah.
Same as Yahweh in Deuteronomy.
So
Right.
at that point, now you can't say that. Now Allah is wrong. You need to use reason and science
Yahweh
to
is
show
wrong
that he
too,
is
guys.
wrong. This is a problem for you.
Beautiful. So again, IP for some odd reason believes that reason and the revelation given in the Quran are going to be incompatible. No, that's not true.
It
Because,
is.
so one second, as Sunni Muslims, we believe that there's going to be things that are inherently immoral, such as injustice, for example, prior to revelation. For example, in Islam, just give me a second. In Islam, we believe that drinking alcohol is going to be impermissible. That is going to lead to a greater harm, which Christian societies allow, right? However, there is going to be circumstances, for example, where you need to survive, where there's nothing accessible to you, where you do need to drink alcohol. So guess what? Islam, in that specific condition, allows reason to say that, hey, this thing is going to be the only viable way to live, therefore it's going to be permissible. So yes, Islam is compatible with natural law. It is compatible with reconciling specific commands over time.
Great. So reason, let's go on that.
Now, you said the thing, Muhammad is said to receive revelation. Well, according to Yahweh, when it's spoken in Quran, he's also given revelation.
Someone asked, best source to discredit natural theology? I don't know what you mean by that, bro. I would recommend Father Deacon Ananias has a good paper on natural theology. This is just going to be like a, this is going to be, I mean, it is actually a critique. So I guess this does meet your question perfectly. This is like the Orthodox approach to it. So you can, I want to say he has one like on like the positive case for like the Orthodox understanding of it. Oh shoot. There we go. There we go. I sent the link in the chat there for you guys. But yeah, this is the paper for it.
It's not a defeat to the argument. You have to show why is it the case that Deuteronomy gave the law to marry children, yet we don't do it today, right?
So let me get back to this. My main point: can you marry a 9-year-old? Is that allowed in Islam?
No, today no.
Today, no. So it was. It was.
Right.
So what? So in that
in
time,
Deuteronomy, you could have married children, and now you can't.
See, keep, won't let me talk.
But you don't want to address the Deuteronomy
I'm showing you the double standard.
I'm going to get to
Get to the
Deuteronomy.
Deuteronomy
I'm
one.
going to get to Deuteronomy.
Okay, he's going to get to Deuteronomy.
So
He's gonna get
you're
to
talking about
Deuteronomy.
Deuteronomy 28, right?
22,
28.
Yep.
Yeah. 20. So going back to my point about child marriage, though. Okay, you just basically became a moral relativist. Okay, because now the point now, let me finish.
You think that's moral relativism?
Habibi, calm down, matey. It's gonna be okay. So, because now it's okay to have a girl in the time of Muhammad, and it caused all the harm then. But now, because we've used reason and science, we can now know that the guidance that Allah was giving
That's
Muhammad.
not moral relativism.
And there it goes again.
What
There it goes
happened to
again. There it goes
Deuteronomy,
again. There it goes
Go
again.
ahead.
Did
So-
he just say he was going to get to
so
Deuteronomy?
now we can use we can now use reason and guidance to know that Allah was wrong. Thank you. Islam, the guidance it gave that through Muhammad was wrong. Let's get to Deuteronomy 22 now.
Yes.
The word is tafas.
Oh,
That is
what about in the Greek?
Hold up.
What's in the Greek?
hold up.
here we go.
It's a Hebrew, man. So the
but
word
what
is
about the
tafas. So you want to go on the original way. So look at
Wait.
We can't use the original.
Disciples
They
don't
said they
go
wanted to get to
Septuagint?
Deuteronomy 22. Now they don't understand.
Let him
Yeah,
finish
okay.
his
Wait,
Deuteronomy
wait,
point,
okay,
and then we'll let
There
you
was
know.
like 5 words out before she.
Okay,
So
fine.
the
Okay,
word
okay.
is tafas. That is the same word used in Genesis when the wife of Potiphar grabs Joseph's cloak and says, "Come to bed with me." That does not mean rape. When you said it meant rape, it lied. You're going off the NIV translation. That is wrong. It just means to sort of flirtatiously seize. And we see that in the parallel passage in Exodus when it talks about
Why are
when a
you
man
laughing?
seduces a girl and they're found, and you'll pay
Notice
their
how they
shekels to
have
the
no
father.
response to what he's saying. He's literally refuting, like line by line, what they're saying, and all they can do is laugh. They probably don't even understand the words he's saying. Like, do you guys think they even have the IQ to like actually comprehend like half the things that IP's saying?
There's a
Probably
big problem
not.
with that, though, is that the Latin Vulgate
boy.
translates Deuteronomy 22, 28 to
Look at that. You could tell this dude's parents are definitely cut. They're probably siblings, to be honest.
29, the same way as it translates 25 to 27, which you already agree is about
It's
rape.
Latin.
So there's no point of taking 28 to 29 to not be about rape when your earliest Christians translate and understand it to be about rape.
They were wrong.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, see, that's the difference. That's the difference. See,
convenient.
I can use reason.
How
and I can-
convenient.
Notice the difference
The
here.
early ones are all
Notice
wrong.
the difference.
They're all
Notice the
wrong.
difference. I use actually the Bible to show you what the word
They
means.
say that their own scholars are wrong all the time, bro. They say Ibn Kathir is wrong about Surah 65:4, which he cited earlier. I don't know why
They
they're
go,
laughing.
but these later Latin trends.
Yeah, these translators are not infallible. Like, what are they talking about?
Translators didn't
We
agree
have to
with.
cross-examine all the translations to figure out which one is the most accurate.
You.
What
I
about-
don't care. I'm using the
So
Hebrew.
everybody was
wait,
right,
but-
and you're the only one that's.
No,
you're
the
the only one
disciples-
that's right.
Hey, if the shoe
disciples quote
fits,
the
my
LXX.
brother. The shoe fits. I'll take
The
it.
issue,
I guess he didn't have the Holy Spirit.
You hinged on one of the wrong issue. Okay, the issue isn't regarding tefas and whether they were graped or not graped. The issue is the word paida in the LXX. You agree the LXX
Right.
is used by the disciples, correct? It's a valid source that the Bible
They don't use that
uses.
one. They don't say that. No.
Oh, they don't. Just conveniently, they don't use that one. But
Special LXX.
is it a source that they use?
They use the Septuagint as a source for like prophecy, typology, that kind of stuff.
Right, and they get them wrong there
But
too.
Matthew
No
also uses the
problem. They
Hebrew.
get
It doesn't
wrong
change
there too.
anything.
They
This
get it
is
wrong
so
there too.
irrelevant to the overall point.
In the LXX, does it use the word paida?
I don't have to look it up. That's irrelevant to the point.
Look it up.
He ends up, by the way, I could try to find the tweet because he ends up actually refuting this too later on Twitter because he just was unfamiliar with the Greek.
No. I want to get back to the point. This is so relevant. I already addressed this.
How is
okay,
it relevant?
Do
Wait,
you
how is that
agree?
relevant?
Do you agree that it is wrong to have in Christian
topic
society?
switch.
We've
Keep
gone to
keep
this
running.
time.
Keep running from the
Hold on,
topic.
hold on.
You have
They
said
keep-
that question a bunch of
Okay,
times.
Exactly.
So
And he
here's
answered
what-
it like 50
let me
times.
land my main point, then I will land my main point here.
Okay,
Back to square one.
So now I can actually progress this.
Problem is that we're talking about which society is going to produce better. Sorry, which religion is going
Okay,
to
but we
produce.
want to get across multiple points.
There we go.
Right, So, sorry,
Yeah.
no, just quick
I'm
one.
trying to
Alright,
wrap
go
up
ahead.
so we can. Don't
Go ahead,
worry,
bro.
okay? The point we're trying to get is which is actually producing. I'm over here saying that Christian societies has outlawed this stuff. It's wrong. It's evil. You guys are saying, no, it can happen in some circumstances, and therefore it's okay. That's the point I'm trying to drive home here. You guys keep saying it's okay to have if the circumstances allow, but that's what Islam teaches. And then you're just saying, well, reason and science says that we can't. Great, reason and science contradict Islam, and we use that instead of Islam. That's my point. So we get back to the main point.
All right, we'll let you guys close out on this topic.
All right, beautiful. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of problems. You said that it's been totally banned, but we see historically speaking, like it's found in A Lily Among the Thorns, that historically speaking, Christians would use verses like Numbers 31 and Deuteronomy 22 to justify raping young girls and finding that to be holy. Also, you're trying to like completely just ignore the Septuagint, but your Christian saints like Augustine and stuff make arguments that if the Torah is preserved, then it's preserved in all recessions, including the Septuagint. So we have to look at the texts and compare the Hebrew and the Septuagint and understand the meanings from both of them. You can't just only look at the Hebrew, you have to look at the Hebrew and the Septuagint. And in the Septuagint, it uses the word force and child. So the child is being forced to be married.
No, it's not true.
Yeah, so just one more thing to add to what you were saying specifically. So when we're looking at modern day societies as well, you're saying that because these things don't occur in Christian societies, that therefore means, and that they do occur in Islamic societies, that therefore means that Islam is worse for, for society in general than Christianity. Is that basically
I'm saying yes,
summarized?
because
that's what you're saying, right?
Well,
I'm not done. I just want to make sure that's what you're
Here, I put, we're making horrible time here. So I'm going to put this in the chat where he had this back and forth on Twitter on this very topic.
One sentence.
go ahead.
Because you guys even acknowledge Islam is allowing with girls under 18,
We said
that is going to
no,
produce
like
worse
10
results.
times.
Don't
But
understand it, don't
anyway,
understand it.
They
anyway.
won't even let me make the sentence.
Well, yeah, it was,
He said
we
Let
said it
me
was my
make the
conclusion.
sentence.
Yeah.
Calm
It's been like
down.
10
Okay.
sentences, but
That
go
is
on.
going to produce worse societies by your own admission. Yes, it will, because the studies show it does.
Cool. So the problem is, do you know what Mill's method of difference is?
I don't
guys
remember off
stop
the top of my head.
asking
Okay. I'm sorry.
What happens is you guys ask him a
okay.
question. and then
It's kind of rhetorical.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah, yeah.
I can explain it, no problem. Mill's method of difference just simply tells us that if it's the case that we're proposing that some sort of thing has a commonality between two particular events. So in this case, let's talk, for example, a Christian society that has many gangs and a Christian society that doesn't have many gangs. Okay. The individual who's coming to a conclusion saying that, because this society is Christian, it therefore has many gangs, is going to be wrong because there is not only it does not occur only in one society. There is a
What?
there has to be some other sufficient cause.
Yeah, but if you have a disproportionate amount of Muslim nations that have child marriage and Christian nations that don't, in a general normative sense, then it would follow logically, or at least rationally. We can use logically here just to mean rationally. It would follow that Islam is the cause, because Islam is the difference between the two societies.
Such that it would say that this is the reason why it's occurring in this society.
And once again, and this is so good, Andrew Wilson's point, bro, about against it wasn't Junior. Who was he debating? Oh yeah, Hikikachu. Andrew Wilson's point against Hikikachu about how the same exact societies that used to be Christian are now, and were powerhouses, were world powers like North Africa and the Middle East, which were world powers and same with Persia, by the way. These were world powers in the early centuries after Christ, and then Islam comes and turns them into shitholes. So, yeah, this is like demonstrated over and over again.
Okay, good. So is it the case that it's occurring in every single Muslim society that there is child marriage?
I don't remember the statistics off the top of my head.
Why is that
doesn't change
necessary?
the point.
Wait, doesn't it
Actually, yes. First of all, yes. But why would that be necessary? Because you can have people doing it in spite of, right? They could be going contrary to Islam, which is basically what every single civilized Muslim does. Is they're living contrary to
Every
Islam.
single Muslim society.
Just finish your point, and then we're going to move into.
You
My
guys
question is-
acknowledged already that that Islam is allowing and teaching this.
That's
No, we
my
didn't. No, we
question.
didn't.
That's my question.
We already. We already.
Did he have sex?
We already.
We're
What
gonna
kind of dichotomy is
have
this?
to transition.
They're begging.
Commend the child marriage in Deuteronomy 22. Like, what is this?
No, I didn't. No.
We've already.
That's ridiculous, man.
Yeah.
Actually, let me share something. I'm
Okay,
sorry.
perfect.
Let me interrupt.
the boss.
Okay.
Here we go.
So there is a gentleman by the name of Hans Kuhn, Catholic theologian.
Oh boy.
Not necessarily a friend of Islam. Okay, not necessarily a friend of Islam. He has some criticism of Islam, but the issue is about society, about what religion is good for society. So this is what he has to say. Again,
He's a state theologian, right?
he's a Catholic theologian.
Theologian. Okay, just want to make sure we know his credentials.
Yes. You want to go Google his name?
No, I'm going to talk to some sociologists later. But
All right, go ahead. So is Islam a religion of the law? Originally, it was not a religion of the law, but the religion of an ethic. The Quran is concerned with ethical imperatives for human society, not all of which were new. However, on the new basis of faith, these norms worked in favor of more justice, fairness, restraint, moderation, mediation, compassion, and forgiveness.
What's his evidence?
And here's a lot of evidence here. I just gave you one
What's his
quote.
evidence?
What is it?
I mean,
What is it?
What's your evidence? What's your
I mean,
evidence that it causes more justice?
it's a very long quotation.
Appeal to Catholics fallacy.
Because I can cite actual researchers, like sociologists.
So you think we think this is a
goodness.
crackhead or something?
My goodness. Now, he's a theologian according to your admission. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm going to cite an actual book. It's called The Price of Freedom Denied, written by actual researchers in the field. They say no. Islamic societies cause more persecution. No. They cause more discrimination than Christian Western societies.
No,
actually, I have they put actual research. They run an actual sociological model behind it. So actually, no. I can just cite them and say, no, that your theologian is wrong. The sociologists are correct.
Look, Islam historically gave freedom of religion.
Wait a minute. Hold on. I'm going to scoot down here for a minute.
Why were the Jews flourishing?
Hold up.
Why were the Jews flourishing in Spain and persecuting the rest of Christian Europe?
I'm a Christian. I'm a Christian.
No, okay.
If I live
Well,
under
the Jews were pretending to be so what was happening in Spain with the Spanish Inquisition, by the way, guys, is that the Muslims were, and Raymond Ibrahim does a really good job of explaining this. But basically, the Muslims were pretending to be Christian. They were partaking in taqiyya. Taqiyya, is that how you say it, guys? Taqiyya, where they were basically lying, pretending to be Christian, waiting to attack. So then the Jews started emulating the same tactics as the Muslims. They started actually pretending to be Muslim. They started basically pretending to be Christian as well, right? And so that was actually what led up to the Inquisition. So notice how he didn't. These guys, Jews and Muslims, they act the same way, bro. They always bring up what happened after. They're like, oh, look at the Crusades. Bro, what about what happened before the Crusades that led to the Crusades? You know what I mean? Jews and Muslims always do this shit, bro. They always bring up what happened after, not what they did before as an act of aggression.
Sharia law, could I proselytize Muslims?
I mean, you can try, but it doesn't mean you're going to go anywhere with it.
I can proselytize Muslims under Sharia law.
Yeah,
I can go out and say, yes,
can we add to
please
this?
convert to Christianity.
Right. So we can add to this real quick. So when it comes to rulings and how they apply throughout history, we would obviously have to use like a bigger sample size in terms of when you look at, for example, how Umar ibn Khattab teaches the Jews.
Just answer the question. Can I proselytize?
Real quick.
Biblically speaking, you can't.
Oh,
Exactly. You cannot. So no, I do not have freedom of
Biblically
religion.
speaking.
You don't have freedom of religion under Islam.
Exactly.
According to Deuteronomy
I don't think
13,
you
you
heard what you said.
can't.
Yeah.
We're
You
talking
would
about
have your
Islam.
whole city
Tell me
committed
Deuteronomy.
genocide.
Notice the deflection. Notice the deflection. Notice the deflection to Deuteronomy, to the civil law under Judaism, under Old Testament Judaism. Notice the deflection. They don't want to because look, look, they can't answer the actual objection, right? All they do is deflect. All they do is deflect.
Answer the
Christianity
question.
and Islam.
Under
Bye-bye to your
Sharia,
city.
under Sharia,
Under Sharia,
can
you
I
can't, and
proselytize?
under Christianity, you can't.
Okay,
under
so
both.
there we go. So there we go.
Under both.
So under Sharia, no, we do
Notice
not have
he
freedom
doesn't
of
want
religion. As I just
Christianity.
said, I cannot proselytize.
Why is it permitted then in every single Christian country? Why is it permitted in every single Christian country?
Do you
So
disagree with them?
why were the Jews?
Do you disagree with them?
Why were the Jews in Spain for 800 years during Muslim
gosh,
rule?
bro, here we go.
Muslim rule. And why, when the Muslims were kicked out, why did the Jews go to Muslim areas? Why did they go to Morocco? Why did they go to Iran?
Yeah, because
and
Jews
Turkey
and Muslims are
and the
always
rest of North
they're
Africa?
always
Why did they
teaming up against us, bro. They're always doing this shit. Y'all know that Muhammad rose to power in a Jewish community? Y'all know that's how that happened? He got kicked out of Mecca. They were making fun of him in Mecca, bro. So he went to, I think it was Medina is what the name of it is. And it was where there was 3 different Jewish sects that were there. And that was where he rose to power, was with the Jews.
They go?
Because they got kicked out. That doesn't change the
Why
point.
did they get kicked out? They got kicked out.
W expelled the Jews. W.
They kicked out. They got kicked out. They were previously tolerated and flourished in Muslim Spain.
No,
Yes.
that's a myth. That's a myth.
That's not a myth.
according to
That's not-
Maimonides.
that's not a
Hold
myth.
up,
That's
no,
not a
no.
myth.
You've
That's
been
not a
And
talking-
by the way, I do believe, like, as Christians historically, like, we do agree that, like, we do agree with, like, blasphemy laws to an extent. We do agree with incentives. You know, you should get tax benefits. For example, like, this is why traditionally we gave tax benefits to only churches, and then this extended in the secular age to mosques and synagogues, which is not a good thing. That's not a good thing. That needs to go away. So I do believe in, like, civil incentives for Christians, like, in a Christian society. But the point is that in a Christian nation, the question that I would be, so this debate prompt was, which is better for society? The debate prompt I care more about is Islam compatible with the West, right? And I would say no, because the West is Christian, right? And so, of course, we do not support civilly punishing Christians for being Christian, right? Because it's Christian society. So, yeah.
That's not. I haven't been talking at all.
You've been talking.
By the way, don't address
Maimonides
the
said no.
Christian
The Ishmaelites have been the worst people to us, and they forced them to convert under the Almohad Empire. So no,
You're talking
there
about
was-
Ottoman
hold
Empire.
on.
I'm not talking about Ottoman Empire. It was just,
You were just talking about
the same guy in
Spain.
Muslim
Spain is not part of the Ottoman Empire.
Wow.
Spain was not part of the Ottoman Empire.
No, I said Almohad.
Are you saying it right?
Almohad. You don't know who the Almohads are?
Muwahhidun?
The Almohad. My goodness.
It's not my fault. You're saying words wrong.
Do you know who the Almoravids are? So in Spain, so let's do some history here because I don't think you know it. Okay, so the Almoravids come in after the collapse of the caliphate in there under the House of Cordoba. They take over.
You're talking about Wahidun.
In Spain, in Al-Andalus, okay? Then after that comes in the Almohads, and they rule in Spain. Maimonides is living under them. Maimonides said the Ishmaelites have been the worst to us of all people. They oppressed, they forced convert, they had all sorts of sex slavery going on. It was awful. So this idea that you have, you don't even know the history. You don't even know who the Almohads are. So how do you know this was such a good time?
I'll give you one even earlier. Okay, during the time period of Umar radiallahu anh. So the second caliph of Muhammad, peace be upon him. So it says here, this is Moshe Gil's book. Okay, so he's a Jew. He says similarly, his contemporary Salman bin Yerubim. In his Arabic commentary, he wrote, as we know, the temple remained in the hands of the Romans for more than 500 years, and they did not succeed in entering Jerusalem, speaking about the Jews. And anyone who did this was recognized as a Jew, was put to death. But when the Romans left it by the mercy of the God of Israel and the kingdom of Ishmael was victorious, Israel was permitted to come and to live. So this is under the Islamic rule of Umar.
Oh, wow. So her response is that the Muslims and Jews really work together. They work well together. Bro, notice how this rhetoric is so cooked, bro. It's so funny. It's so funny to me that they think this is good rhetoric.
He's the one who allows for them. I could quote you another reference where he talks about how he's the one who invited 70 families from the Jews to come back into Jerusalem to save them from the Christians.
The Catholic
Thanks for all the super chats, guys. I will be going. I may have to go over super chats earlier than at the end because I have so many. But I, of course, will go over them at the
Catholic
end.
Christians.
Oh, the Roman
All right,
Christians?
so
Okay.
let's now address that. Now, so where are the Jews now living today?
Yeah, many different
Yes,
places of the world.
the numbers have depleted throughout the Middle East because of horrible oppression that is
Wait, are you
happening
going to address
now.
the point of Omar Khattab allowing them?
I'm going to address it. Yeah.
So why did they allow them to live?
Man, my
Go ahead.
goodness, man.
Okay,
It's four people versus one. They won't even let me talk. It's insane.
Yeah, we keep talking about the topic that we're bringing up.
We're talking about what is better. And as both of these religions have developed societies, clearly the Christian West has allowed a lot more religious freedom, as the sociological research shows. Again, the book, The Price of Freedom Denied, shows that in the Middle East, Jews, Christian, heterodox groups, like the Alawites, for example, or the Baha'i, they are being oppressed on high levels versus what's happening in the West. So yeah, as these religions develop societies, Christianity has led to far less oppression than what we see in Islam. This is backed by research, therefore Christianity is better for society. By the way, Jonathan Fox found similar results.
Okay, so historically speaking, right, because that's what we were talking about earlier, but now you're bringing back Western Christianity, which I don't even agree there is such a thing. It's going to be, if there is, it's going to be in like places like Brazil or South America or anything. Not here in the U.S. though. So when it comes to Christianity historically, are you trying to make the claim that there was not, persecution of individuals who tried to proselyte? Really?
I'm not saying there was no persecution on either side.
Okay, I thought you were saying, okay. So there was.
Which is better.
So wait.
It's about which is better.
Hold on. So Christianity does allow for that, correct?
No.
No? Deuteronomy 13 doesn't allow for that?
No,
It
that's
doesn't
not.
tell you to stone
Are you
people who
kidding
call
me?
you to another God that's
Is
not the God of
Deuteronomy
Israel?
the new covenant?
Is that the same
Is
God?
Deuteronomy
Is it
the new covenant?
Well, also that was literally, you know what that was for, guys? It was literally during the time of paganism when you literally, if you were worshiping another God, you were sacrificing children to that God. That was what apostasy was back then.
What is the
God.
new covenant?
Is it the same God?
It's the
It
same
is the same
God.
God. And he prescribed that in the past, correct?
So you, okay,
It was
now-
something
civilly.
more?
am I going to be able to respond here?
Wait, did he
Am I going
prescribe
to be
or
able to
not?
respond?
Yes, he
All right.
prescribed that you should unalive someone who is sacrificing children to Moloch and encouraging other people to do it. Yeah. Yep.
I
asking
just
a
wanted
question.
to engage in
Now
it.
now we need to talk about this because you're bringing this up. So
Sure.
Deuteronomy is didactic and exhortational in the laws it's laying down. This is according to mainstream scholarship today. It's not laying down minimal sentences. It's expressing the moral importance. You can read, for example, Dilbert Hillers. You can read John Walton on this. You can read, for example,
What's the
Kenneth
evidence? Is it the
My
Bible?
goodness, man. My goodness. You can read Kenneth Bergman.
Right.
So that's the thing. This is irrelevant because the marching orders for Christianity are not
The evidence is in the life of Christ. Did Christ demand that Judas and Peter be put to death when they apostatized? When Peter denied Christ? When Judas betrayed him? Did Christ pick up stones to stone them? Is that what he did? Thank you for the super chats, guys. I'm literally going to have to go through super chats early if I could get more, so I appreciate it. Otherwise, I will go over them at the end.
Deuteronomy, which again is didactic. It's pointing forward to something greater and more important. The marching orders of the new covenant. So no, that is not a law prescribed to Christians. It has nothing to do with the topic. And now you're basically saying, yeah, we think that happens in Islam, this killing of apostates. Yeah, that's bad for society. Guess what? Christianity doesn't allow it. You just gave me another reason why Christianity is better.
Good. So why does Thomas Aquinas, who's a Christian, obviously I believe he's a Catholic, right? He's a saint. He quotes the book of Hebrews, which presumably I think you take the position it was written by Paul, but maybe not. Okay. So in Hebrews 10, it says, where is it? Sorry. Second. So Paul quotes an Old Testament law that doesn't necessitate that he upholds it or believes it. Okay, in Hebrews 10, he's talking essentially about the heretics and how they should be alive, but he says...
So what's the verse? I want to pull the verse up.
I believe it's Hebrews 10, verse 28 and 29.
Hebrews 10, 28 and 29.
Yeah, so he's quoting the Old Testament and saying... or rather, he's vaguely quoting it and saying that a heretic or somebody who's going against God, that person should be unalived, but their judgment is going to come from God. Now, wait, hold on. Thomas Aquinas, a Catholic theologian, a saint of the church, right? What does he say? In Summa Theologica, he says, St. Thomas Aquinas, on whether heretics ought to be tolerated. This is question 11, article 3. It says, with regard to heretics, 2 points must be observed, one on their own side, the other on the side of the church. On their own side, there is the sin, whereby they deserve not only to be separated from the church by excommunication, but also to be severed from the world by death. For it is a much graver matter to corrupt the faith which quickens the soul, than to forge money which supports temporal life. Wherefore, if forgers of money and other evildoers are forthwith condemned but to the death by the secular authority, etc., etc.
So can we read the verse now?
Yeah, go
Okay,
ahead.
so
I already
anyone
told
who
you
has
what
set
the verse
aside
is.
the law of Moses dies without mercy on the evidence of 2 or 3 witnesses. How much How much worse punishment do you think will be deserved by the one who has trampled underfoot the Son of God and has profaned the blood of the covenant by which he was sanctified?
And also Paul never advocated. So we actually saw this. We actually saw this manifest with the Judaizers, right? And he never advocated for them to be put to death, right? So, and once again, like, I mean, you literally had multiple examples of Christ, again, with people apostatizing, right? And he didn't advocate for this. So,
and has outraged the spirit of
now,
Christ.
there were cases in Byzantium where you did have, once again, for the most part, if you look at the most consistent policy under Orthodox empires, the most consistent policy was civil. There was civil punishment for those that apostatized and then were proselytizing others. Right? It was a civil violation. You were not put to death over it. Okay, that's generally what I support as well, is civil level punishment.
So this is not prescribed. This is talking about basically what does someone deserve?
Did I not say that? I literally said that.
There we go.
But
Now,
then
is
I told
Thomas
you
Aquinas the
quotes it. Sir, I said Aquinas quotes it. Okay, we're talking about Christianity historically. Okay, and historically, Christians used to allow for the unalivement of heretics. They used to allow for the unalivement of Jews, as I already gave you the references for. You're not engaging with that.
So do
You're
they now?
literally just saying, sir.
Wait.
Yeah,
Go ahead. So I want to comment on that. So what you're taking?
Respond to what you had said. I would like to respond to what you said.
I'll understand. You can jump in, right? So what we're doing is that we're looking at a period sample size. Like, for example,
so another point here that this is why the topic has to be, is Islam compatible with the West? Because, okay, even if we grant that there are apostasy laws, right, under certain Christian cultures, right, the point is that a Muslim is not a Christian, right? So we don't want Muslim apostasy laws in the West. That's the whole point. That's why it's incompatible, because the West is Christianized. So yeah, if we want to have incentives, I don't believe in the death penalty for it, but if we want to have civil incentives for Christians, and then there are civil punishments as well, like you lose tax breaks if you leave, right? There's nothing wrong with that. That's actually how the Orthodox empires operated, right? In the West, that's the type of policy I would advocate for. But we would never advocate for Muslim laws that are in favor of that. Absolutely not. In our own countries, absolutely not.
1998.
That's the point that IP, obviously isn't going to make, because he comes from a more like I don't want to say like progressive Christian, but like just he believes in like progressive. I don't know how he would describe it, but he believes that like we've developed out of those things.
Right? And we're taking that sample size and we're saying, hey, based upon that, Christianity yields the better results, but why can't we extend the sample size back? Why can't we do that?
Great, absolutely. I want to do that. Yeah,
if we do take that back.
Someone said Christianity isn't compatible with the West. Bro, Christianity is the West. What the hell are you talking about?
Do you agree that we can find historical instances where the Jews are oppressed by the Christians?
Yes! I never denied that.
Beautiful.
This is how you answer questions. You see what I'm doing? I say yes.
And I do disagree. I mean, I have to look at Aquinas' argument. I do disagree with him that it should be the death penalty. I'd have to look at what he's talking about. Perhaps he's talking about, like, in Byzantium, oftentimes, again, it was these pagans there was these people that would leave Christianity, convert to paganism, which consisted of sacrificing children, right? So that was why they're put to death, right? Because they're doing these other things that are necessary to be pagan.
And then I expound. You should try that sometime.
Thank you. Right. So if we do take the sample size back, we see that Christianity has also contributed injustice.
Yeah.
Christianity has
what is the topic? Brian, could you please remind us of the topic again?
I
would like Brian to remind us of the topic.
No, I understand that. I just want to know why is the sample size from modern day, right? Specifically, looking at a recent period.
Brian, what's the topic?
So can you address that or not?
Let him finish it, please.
Yeah. So we're saying that if we take back the sample size, would we see better results from Islam or Christianity, right?
Brian, what's the topic?
Is Christianity better for society than Islam?
Thank you.
And
there we go.
How are we going to observe that? Wait, how are we going to observe that IP? Can we observe it
based on what you said?
Can we talk about
the historical development of what is producing better societies?
Right
now, the West has clearly produced better societies.
Wait, the West is only Christianity?
Goodness, man!
Right now in this particular area only.
That's crazy.
What is Christianity produce? Less child marriage, less oppression. Okay, that is not even up for debate. That has actually been demonstrated by models by Jonathan Fox, Grimm and Finke in their book, The Price of Freedom Denied. It has also produced less cousin marriage, which is also bad for humanity. So yes, and it's also produced better rights, where we're not killing people for abandoning their religion, because that's what Islam teaches. So all these things, yes, Islam is producing far worse societies. This is enough for debate. We can just look at all the facts, and the numbers don't lie.
Yeah, so we want to like take this a bit forward, right? Because we also want to be able to critique your conception of what a good society is. Now, when it comes to Christianity or Western Christianity, you would admit that, for example, things like alcohol consumption is allowed. Now, when it comes to alcohol consumption, we see that, for example, 66% of domestic abuse cases
Oh my gosh,
are heavily impacted.
See,
and
now they don't
influenced
want to
by-
appeal to the scripture. Now they don't want to appeal to the Bible, which throughout allows for alcohol consumption. Literally throughout the entire Bible allows for alcohol consumption. So they don't, now they want to run away from the Bible.
alcohol consumption. So the question is very simple. If we have a society A, where there is no alcohol consumption, right, and it's completely forbidden, not allowed, and we have society B where it is
and also like these Muslim countries are not tracking abuse properly because they don't even they allow for abuse. So like they're literally not even tracking this shit properly. And we know this because when they come into our countries, they are disproportionately committing these crimes. We saw, I've showed you guys the data multiple times of these Western European and Northern European nations that track this by race and by ethnicity, bro. By ethnicity, and it demonstrates that these guys that come in from the Muslim countries are disproportionately committing these crimes. And so, yeah, abuse isn't a problem in these Muslim countries because they're not even tracking it. It's not even tracked as a crime.
Which one would yield a better result insofar as domestic abuse, so on and so forth?
So you're saying, let me see if I can stimulate. You're saying if a society is producing less domestic abuse, it's better.
Of course.
Okay. Beautiful. There's a great study.
I just point out alcohol consumption, though.
Okay, there's a great study called Intimate Partner Violence in Muslim Communities, showing that, yes, there is more intimate partner violence in Muslim communities. So even with alcohol, you guys are still having more abuse of women, psychological,
Probably
physical,
because the
sexual.
Quran explicitly allows it. That's probably why the Quran explicitly allows it.
Emotional abuse in your societies.
Right.
So even on that point, this works against you.
So again, the example, the question that I asked was specific regarding which society would be better, one that doesn't have alcohol consumption and one that does.
Depends on how much abuse it causes.
Okay, beautiful.
It's about the effects.
So, if one causes high domestic abuse due to the alcohol, it would be worse, right?
Wait. So if it causes more.
Right.
Okay, yeah, it doesn't.
No. Again, to be very clear, what I'm saying is if we have a society where there is alcohol consumption that would lead to domestic abuse, and we have a society that doesn't have alcohol consumption that doesn't lead to domestic abuse, which one would be better?
The one that has less abuse.
Thank you so much.
Okay, which is the West.
So again, Islam as a religion doesn't allow alcohol consumption, which doesn't contribute to the mass domestic abuse that is due to alcoholism that is found within the West.
It's causing more abuse regardless. This is what the research shows.
A society without alcohol would be better.
No. I let you talk for a little while there. Your whole thing was like, we're going to go on, the society that's better is the one that is causing less abuse. The research shows, multiple reviews have found, that it is actually Muslim communities producing more abuse of their women.
What's the sample size?
What's the sample size? It's been done in I can pull it up right here if you want. I can pull it up.
Because go ahead, put it up. Yeah.
So I told you the name of the paper, Intimate Partner Violence in Muslim communities.
What's the time and the location as well?
So they looked at multiple countries. So that's important. So they were not just looking at one; they looked at several over several years, for example.
Right.
So this was several studies here. So hold on, let me pull this up here. The first one is Intimate Partner Violence in Muslim communities. Okay. The study. There's like multiple studies authors. So like Bonita Sharma, for example. Right, Kenneth Flaglin. The second paper.
Do you know the second paper
Second paper is Muslim women experience of domestic violence and abuse, a meta-ethnography of global evidence. And they specifically cite religious motivations coming from Islam.
What is the religious? Go ahead, prove it.
What are you talking about? You want me to read it?
When you cite religious motivations, what is the religious motivation they're quoting?
Oh, okay, yeah, sure. Here, so cultural beliefs often influence Islamic values within a society.
Cultural?
What?
Okay. I've always said religious.
Let me read. You want me to read from the paper? Okay, I'm reading from the Muslim women experience of domestic violence and abuse, a meta-ethnography. Okay, cultural belief often influence Islamic values within a society. These religious values and beliefs were subject to the interpretation and guidance of religious leaders. Sharia law plays a role in shaping the behavior of many individuals within a community.
Can you give the evidence within Sharia law?
My goodness, he asked me to read a quote.
I'm asking something very specific here. What is
Sharia law
what is the evidence?
Sharia law dictated Sharia law dictated that women must be obedient to their husbands. Men felt empowered to punish their wives if they perceived them as disobedient. Then it goes on to say, it is evident that religious beliefs were a strong influence on women's acceptance of DVA and reluctant to leave and seek help.
Beautiful. So again, regarding the specific topic, now let's go to the Sharia. The
So
messenger
Muslims
himself,
beat
in
women.
authentic hadith,
Beautiful. My
says
goodness, dude.
Those,
Wait, do you acknowledge this shows this?
Yeah, I'm responding to it.
So you acknowledge this shows there's more violence,
I
there's
know
more
that's
violence in
I
Muslim
know that's what
communities.
she says. I'm responding to the
That's not what he
paper.
even said. He said that the effect of them not wanting to leave is due to
It's
religious.
evident that religious was a strong influence on women's acceptance of DVA.
Right,
So-
but it's not them actually committing the act. It's just the women.
Exactly.
wanting to
The
leave.
prior quote shows that
but
yes,
them
they
actually
are.
committing the act was due to culture.
I need to read the other one
Yeah,
too?
it
Because
says,
yeah.
it says
culture.
culture in the
So-
first sentence.
Yeah, so I don't know what you're doing. You're just misquoting
and
these.
even-
No,
Oh my
it
God.
shows that there's more violence in there, and the women are also accepting.
Can you just
it.
read the first sentence again?
Yeah, because of culture.
Yeah, culture beliefs often influence Islamic values.
Exactly.
in
So,
society.
Wow, man.
okay,
Yeah.
so this goes back.
I'm not saying it's
but
just
hold on,
Islamic.
hold on. I know-
That's a
I know.
part of it. But
Okay.
they do say
Yeah,
religious.
the aspect that's Islamic is the fact that they marry their cousins, which produces low IQ, and low IQ produces violence. That's the part that's
well.
Islamic.
Okay, so
it's
if
gotta
it's
do
not
with
a
culture.
sufficient cause, then you can't attribute the actual cause
gosh,
to
bro.
Islam.
Yes, I
It has
can.
to- no, you can't. It's not
Yes.
a sufficient cause.
Yeah,
Okay,
because you
so
don't
does
understand
it
how
happen
sociology
in-
works.
So this is
Hold on. You don't understand how
wait.
sociology works.
Hold on.
Multiple
you don't
factors.
understand
There's
how Mill's
cultural,
method of differences
religious.
works.
There's poverty as well. But
Right.
Islam is also one of the factors according
Right,
to the
okay,
study.
but it is not a sufficient cause. That's the point. If it was a sufficient cause, then Islam would be the only and key factor of it.
No, that's never
what a
had-
sufficient cause is.
No, that
Okay,
does
so
not
is
make sense
Islam-
at all.
So is Islam the sufficient cause?
Islam is a factor that leads to more
I didn't
violence.
ask that. I asked you, is it a sufficient cause?
That is irrelevant to the study.
No, it is
No,
literally
it's not.
not. I'm asking you, is it a sufficient
my
cause
gosh,
to say
bro.
that
Goodness.
Islam allows for domestic
Islam
abuse?
is a
to
motivating
This is
factor
sophistry.
that leads
This
to
is
more
just
violence
straight up sophistry.
according to these studies.
He doesn't want to
Can you
engage.
answer her question?
You don't want to engage.
The
Right.
question
Thank
is,
you.
what is the question? It's not following what I'm actually saying.
I know.
Because you're
Is
asking
Islam-
something
You
gotta
irrelevant to my
engage,
point.
Yeah, let's just
Because I
let's-
asked it before. You didn't want to address it before either.
Ask the
Okay.
question, and then we'll get a clear answer.
Is
Okay.
Islam a sufficient cause as it pertains to this type of violence towards women?
Okay, what do you mean by sufficient cause?
Sufficient cause meaning that it's the only thing which is necessary such that
No.
we would
Oh
my
observe it to
gosh.
occur in every single
That's
Islamic
not
society.
relevant.
That
Is
is
this the
irrelevant.
case?
No, that's
I
irrelevant
didn't
to my
ask you if
point.
it's
He said
irrelevant.
no.
I asked
He
you
said
if-
no.
Oh,
I said no.
Okay, good.
See, I answered
Okay,
questions.
good, good. Yeah, you're fine
This is
with
how
me.
it's
So-
sophistry. Basically, she's saying is Islam sufficient as the only factor? And actually, I would say yes, because once again, the cultural aspects are the fact that they marry their cousin, which produces low IQ, which produces violence. So
No, it is irrelevant.
Good.
Okay.
So, no, it's not. No, it's irrelevant. Is it a yes or no? Okay.
It is not because you don't understand how
I didn't
sociology
ask him
works.
if it's irrelevant.
Let me
I asked
explain
him,
how sociology
is it the
works.
case that it is or isn't?
Let
Now
me
you-
explain
now
how
you can see
sociology
he's not
works.
answering the question.
Let me explain how
You're pulling
sociology
But it is a
Logic
bunch of
right now.
like IP is right. Like it's a bunch of different factors because it is the low IQ, but it's also the fact that this is in their material. This is in their hadith. This is in the Quran directly. So of course, Islam is absolutely a sufficient cause, but it is cultural in the sense of the low IQ cultures, and then of course it also is derived directly from the
You want
text.
to say yes or no?
Okay, let me explain how sociology works.
I don't need an explanation.
want to go on logic, yes or no?
Yeah, we're going to logic. We're going to call it God logic. Like yes or no.
Okay.
I've minored in criminology. I've minored in
So that
sociology. I want you to engage.
you minored in sociology.
Yes.
So that you understand that when a study is performed, they have to look at multiple factors.
Exactly.
Great.
So what I'm asking you, and you don't want to engage with, is I'm asking you, is Islam sufficient on its own to produce these results, yes or no?
Never in
I would
sociology
say
will
yes.
that be the answer.
Oh my God. Okay,
Never.
so is it not?
I would say yes. Because no, derived directly from the text, maybe not, but Islam in general, yes.
Is it the case, yes or no?
Perfect.
I said no,
She
because
said
that's
no.
not how sociology
Thank you.
works.
Good.
Do you understand? You
So
said
I'm
you
not
minored.
asking
You should know
only-
how this
hold on,
works.
hold on.
Let's go back to his point. He said the society that produces more abuse is going to be worse. I'm bringing studies like intimate partner violence in Muslim communities. To quote, in general, these studies found high prevalent levels of IPV among Muslims living in the U.S. and globally. Consistent with IPV research in general, verbal and psychological abuse was found most prevalent, followed by physical, sexual, and fatal. individual, family, and interlocking social problems, traditional beliefs, and spirituality, immigration-related stressors were associated. There. See, I didn't say it's the only thing.
Good.
Okay, with
So
IPV
it's not engaging
studies
with my answer.
Oh my gosh.
studies on beliefs of IPV found that there tended to be higher leniency and justification of abuse in Muslim cultures than is the Western norm. So
Good.
by
Doesn't
that
address my
logic,
question.
hold up, back to that logic. By that logic, you guys have accidentally conceded Muslim societies are worse because there's more abuse according to the data.
Doesn't address my question. Okay?
This is just
My
sophistry,
question-
bro.
Because
Your
we're
question's on the
talking about
topic.
Islam, okay? We're talking about Islam as it pertains for societies, okay? If there are Islamic societies such that this does not occur, then you cannot say that Islam is going to be the sufficient cause in regards to this occurring in a society.
Why does
That's
that
the whole
matter
point.
if it's it doesn't matter if it's a sufficient cause or not. It doesn't matter. It's a factor. It's a factor that Christianity isn't contributing to, or that Christianity isn't a factor in. Okay? Nobody's beating their wife because they're Christian. People are beating their wife because they see it in the text. Even if you disagree with the interpretation, which, by the way, it explicitly permits it, even if you disagree with the explicit permission to beat your wife, right? The point is that people are interpreting that way. That means it's a factor. It doesn't matter if it's a sufficient cause. This is sophistry.
Raise the bar to extreme levels where now we can't say anything. Once again, like the last
Don't blame me,
conversation,
This is
you were
sophistry.
nuclear. You basically just said we can't use anything
That's a straw
because
man.
we need a.
That's not
That's a
true.
straw man, I
That's not
think.
true because, for
Is there
example,
more abuse in Muslim
I'll tell you
communities?
why that's not the case.
Yeah,
I'll tell you why that's not the case.
Is there more abuse in Muslim
I'm going to
communities?
tell you why that's not
We'll
the
get
case.
to the point,
I'm going to tell
right.
you why that's not the case. Because there
my
are certain
gosh, bro.
aspects of any religious text or any text that we interpret in general, okay, there are certain aspects such that we can determine that because the vast majority of the people all adhere to it or all accept it within regards to that particular doctrine that we're talking about or anything of the sort, that this is a sufficient cause for it. For example, affirming Tawheed. That is something every Muslim will affirm, okay? Ergo, we could say it's Quran or Islam in general is a sufficient cause in regards to affirming Tawheed as it pertains to Muslims. But you cannot come to that same conclusion as it pertains to specific laws and rulings because there are different people who have interpreted it in different ways over time such that they allow culture, society, etc. to influence and impact their decision on their interpretation.
So according to you, we can't know anyway. We can't know anything here. We can't know anything.
I literally just told
Done
you
your
the
response.
opposite.
Done your
I
response.
told
Let's
you
move
the
forward. Let's move forward.
opposite.
Let's move forward
Every
on this
time I
point.
let them
Alright,
talk,
yeah.
notice what's happening, guys. I let them talk. Then
Wait,
I try
and
to talk,
there's a
they
huge
jump
problem
in.
with what she just said. So Tawheed, right, is the oneness of God. But there's lots of people that aren't Muslim that believe in the oneness of God. There's tons of people that are not Muslim that agree with the oneness of God. So how can that be proven to be the sufficient cause, that Islam is the sufficient cause for Tawheed, right, when there's lots of non-Muslims who believe in the oneness of God?
Start interrupting me because they can't handle the data here.
You said,
We
you
going
said
back-
you
I'm
can't do
using-
anything. That's all you said.
There they go again.
That's
There they
all
go
you
again.
said.
Yeah, okay.
You said
I'm
it like
going
you were
back to what
done.
you said. You said societies that produce more abuse are going to be worse. We can see the data. Even with alcohol consumption, Muslim societies are producing more abuse. It's in the studies I'm citing. Therefore, Muslim societies produced by Islam are worse than what Christian societies have produced. That's it. That's the debate right there. Thank you for coming.
Let's move to the next point.
Okay.
Right.
Consanguineous marriage is
So-
cousin marriage.
so
Do
again,
you
s-
agree
s-
cousin marriage is okay?
Yeah, again, so when it comes to exactly what you mean by cousin marriage, it's going to be very nuanced. So, for example, in societies where there is a repeated cousin marriage that is explicitly condemned and something that is frowned upon within Islam, Umar ibn Khattab talks about this, and Imam al-Shafi'i talks about this as well, that if it is going to be repeated, where it is going to cause harm to the child, then it's going to be something that's shouldn't be done. That's what Islam teaches, right? So Islam, where it is implemented, then it's going to cause people followers of that text that there's not going to be repeated cousin marriage. But referring to simply like a one instance cousin marriage, I don't believe that would entail harm necessarily, right? You have to prove that.
So, do you agree there is far more cousin marriage in the Islamic world than in the Western
I
world?
don't believe that Islam is the cause.
But is there more?
You'd have to read the data, but
So there's a lot more cousin marriage. In, for example, in Pakistan, the rate's like 65%.
Beautiful.
Okay, so there's a lot more cousin marriage. Where are they getting that from?
not Islam. Can you prove it's
Yeah,
Islam?
exactly.
Yes,
This
yes,
literally
I
will
can.
go
Yes.
back to every single one of the points that you bring up in regards to this. Mill's method of difference is going to literally be a thorn for you right now. You don't want
Some people are asking about call-ins. Yeah, I'm still working on how I'm going to do it. But once I hit my quota for TikTok, I'll probably stream both at the same time, and I will allow for call-ins. I mean, on Saturday I'm doing my call-ins with Nick. So I do call-in streams. I do certain streams that are for call-ins and then certain that are not. But once I get my TikTok where I can stream both at the same time, then I'll probably allow for call-ins on all my streams.
Want to address the fact that it can't be a sufficient cause if it's the case it's not occurring in every single Islamic society.
That doesn't follow at all.
That's the crux of the matter.
No. Let me address that. That doesn't follow at all.
Okay,
because there are several factors involved.
Okay.
So for example, in some societies, for example, there's Christianity is everywhere, okay? But we can say for example, if we go to New Orleans, there's going to be a lot more crime than like Vermont, okay? Why? Because we know in sociology there are numerous factors. There's a lot more poverty in southern Louisiana. So that's going to be another motivating factor. So that's what happens often in these societies. They factor out those kind of things. But the studies I'm citing have done multivariable analyses. They have factored out things like poverty, like education levels. They still find intimate partner violence, higher levels of child marriage, okay, more oppression and persecution.
All else being equal.
Yeah, cousin marriage. Okay, now I want to get back to that point. Okay, so
can I make
is
a point?
not Muhammad the pattern of conduct for Muslims?
Again, go ahead.
Yeah, I just really quick, and then he could address
here
me
we
on
go.
that point.
She's not going to answer
what
the
I wanted
question.
to ask you, or rather say, is when it comes to a motivation, finding a motivation for a particular thing, what he already explained to you is that within our Islamic doctrine, within our Islamic teachings, early on, what we find, both the Caliph as well as people who are contemporary to the Caliph afterwards, they say that this is something which should not be encouraged. Okay, not only should it not be encouraged, but what we find is that they say that it is better for you to go and do something else so that, and he states the specific reason as to why he says so that.
Why do they say that?
I'll tell you. He says specifically, Imam al-Shafi'i says specifically, so that your children do not end up as fools. He literally says it verbatim. Good. So there is motivation. Now this is a question I want to ask you.
But he's pulling nature, right? Nature? Nature, yeah.
I'm not done. Okay. So when it comes to this particular point, what I'm asking you, is there some basis or motivation within Islamic text or theology such that the opposite is also allowed to occur?
Cousin marriage?
The opposite. So not allowing for it, or not encouraging it.
I'm confused about what you're asking.
Yeah,
are you asking, does the Islamic text allow cousin marriage?
Does it allow for it insofar as not encouraging the closeness of it?
Oh my gosh.
Saying the word cousin is
She's literally not, that's not a coherent
First
sentence.
cousins.
The issue. Okay, yeah, sure. First cousin is allowed. But the reason as to why it's not good is because over time, if you continue this particular type of behavior, that's what leads to these types of issues, which is exactly what Imam al-Shafi'i and Umar radiallahu anh both state.
Where do they get that from?
So I'm asking you, they get it based off of natural understanding.
Exactly. They don't get it from Islam.
Right. So
they get it from science, from nature. They're not. Islam is allowing cousin marriage because again, you won't let me show.
Good.
Okay, I'll let you talk for a while.
Yeah.
Let me now address this. Okay, exactly. They were able to go, hey, all these generations of cousin marriages leading to lower IQ and all these birth defects. We shouldn't do this. But they're not getting that from Islam. They're getting that from their understanding of how the natural world works. Meanwhile, in Islam, Muhammad married his first cousin. He married his daughters, the first cousins. So according to Islamic teaching, that's why it keeps happening throughout the Islamic world. This is why you have rampant cousin marriage in the Islamic world.
Yep.
Meanwhile, in the West, we have gotten rid of that.
Good. Notice what the issue is. It's not specifically marrying first cousins. The issue that they highlight is that over time, if it's done repeatedly, that's where the issue occurs, correct?
Where does Islam say that just don't do it repeatedly?
They're literally the sources that we use. So if we're going to go based off of an Islamic standard, then according to the Quran...
It's nowhere in their hadith. It's nowhere in any of their universally authoritative texts. It's a couple scholars that she's appealing to. And again, these scholars are ignored because Muslim nations have some of them have 60% inbreeding. 60%. And then they come into the West and they continue doing it. They don't even intermarry with others in the West. They continue doing it. Okay? So this is nonsense what she's talking about. This is utter nonsense because the point is that Islam is breeding, literally, these societies that are inbred.
To follow these contemporaries of Muhammad, peace be upon him, such as
they're not getting that from Muhammad or the Quran.
Hold on.
Exactly.
The Quran
Or the
tells you
hadith.
to follow in their example.
They're also not getting it from the hadith.
To follow in their example and follow in what they say, such that it's not something that contradicts Islam. There's no issue with accepting what they say. So ergo, they do have basis for making these statements, because when the Quran, for example, talks about taking from people of knowledge, people of knowledge is going to be an expert or having an expertise in that specific field. So if there are individuals who are Muslims at that time and they have some sort of expertise in the field of marriage and how
none of this matters, because the point is that Muslim nations produce inbred societies. Everything she's saying is irrelevant.
occurs in society and so on and so forth, if they say that over time what they see is that due to doing it multiple different times, right, or, interbreeding multiple different times between first cousins, what it leads to is a deterioration of, whether it be brains or anything of the sort, and then this is something that should be avoided. You are to listen to them according to the Quran, and there's no issue with that.
All right. Now, I just want to notice what happened. I let her respond. She went on for a good minute there. I wonder if I'm going to get to do that. Let's see if I actually get to do that.
Go ahead. So, don't ask questions.
Okay, so once again, so once again, they're getting that from their understanding of nature. That's my point. But again, now we got to go back to the broader picture. What is actually happening? Islamic societies are producing societies that have rampant cousin marriage, and they're having lower IQs, more birth defects. This is also contributing to less economic progress. Okay, because Western societies have actually gotten rid of it. They've gotten rid of it. It's all done away with. Very low, less than like 1% in the West, for example. Okay, that just means we're producing better societies. Now, if you want to say, well, that Islam is not the motivating factor, I'm using your standard now. You're going to scientific aspects, people studying nature. So by your own admission, the standard you set up earlier, they're not getting that. They're not getting the idea that cousin marriage is bad from Islam. If we go to what Islam just says, guess what's happening? Cousin marriage is allowed and it's growing. Then we just need to look at societies at large. What's happening? The West is producing far better societies because we have higher IQs, because we have less cousin marriage. That is a contributing factor, okay? And then, I'm almost done. Meanwhile, Islamic societies are producing worse societies, more child marriage, more abuse, and now we know more cousin marriage, which lowers the collective IQ. This is bad.
Right. So to come to the conclusion that you're saying is that if you look at society X, society Y, for example, we see that X society has something bad compared to this society, but there is a few things that you're not factoring in, right? So for some odd reason, when I said let's take the sample size and spread it even larger, for some reason we had an issue with that. I don't believe that taking the sample size bigger, where you can look at more historical context, undermines
these people
the
are so painful,
because
bro.
you're still looking at society.
Oh my
you're still looking at the
gosh.
effect. And just because we see, for example, Western countries that are part of NATO that have a better economic factors, and we have Muslim countries in the Middle East where they have worse economic factors, where they could be where they are driving factors for these consequences that we see, right? You cannot pin this on Islam and say that this is because of Islam, right? So I would argue that if we take the sample back even further, we can argue for things like alcohol abuse. We can argue for things like unaliving of the Jews, 70,000 Jews being unalived by the Christians, right? And this is from Christian societies. If we take this back, and also one point I want to comment on, is that if we appeal to natural law as Muslims, that renders me a moral relativist. It doesn't follow.
That was something different.
That was a separate
I want to
point.
comment on that because for some odd reason you have an issue with a Muslim.
This is demonstrating his IQ. His IQ is unable to track what IP was saying. That was a point he made earlier in the discussion. That has nothing to do with his point here. His point here was that when they are deriving this notion that when you marry your cousin over and over and over again, and you for generations, your children are retarded, right? That was from natural law. That's from observation. That's not from divine revelation. That was IP.
To natural law, when natural law is something that is taught within Islam. Why? Because in Sunni Islam, we believe that there is going to be things that are going to be inherently known as immoral, or the natural disposition that we can use, aka natural law. So natural law in Islam doesn't contradict taking the messenger to be the moral example, because he's the one that sets those standards. And according to the hadith, where he explicitly says, "La dar wa la dirar," no harm, no reciprocating harm.
Here we go again with
and the
the
only thing he said,
stupid Arabic.
people interpret it.
Here we go again with speaking Arabic as if we can understand it.
Well, the thing is, if you take the traditional view, that anything that entails harm, physical and mental harm, is going to be not allowed. Okay. So, real quick, would you agree that if we take the sample size back, then there will be different results from what you're concluding?
You mean history? Is that what you're talking about? Okay. Yeah. We're taking the whole of history here. Okay.
Yeah.
So you just can't go to maybe 300 years ago it was different. We have to take the whole of history
Thank
here.
you.
The whole of history shows Christian societies are far better. And one of the results is cousin marriage, consanguineous marriages. They're far more rampant in Islamic societies. So let me give you an analogy to help you with this. Okay. So take Ozempic. Ozempic was produced, they came up with it to help with type 2 diabetes. But then they discovered it also helps with weight loss. So it produced an unintended result. Now when we look at Christian societies coming from Christianity, Islamic societies coming from Islam, one of the unintended results is cousin marriage. There's far less in the West, a ton more in the Islamic world. That just shows that Islam is... I almost was done. I'm almost done. So Islam is producing far worse societies because you have rampant cousin marriage. Okay, you may not have intended that, you may not think that is, but this is still just a reality on the ground.
Beautiful. So again, you did concede that if we take the sample size, that would be different. But the studies that you cited don't account for history, IP. You would agree that the sample size that you quoted only
because they can't.
Right, exactly. So you would agree that it doesn't account for history, right?
They can't. It's impossible in sociology.
Beautiful, exactly. So when you say that, when you reference a model, for example, where it's like 1988 to like 2010, where you reference a country where it has like bad socioeconomic factors, it would then follow that we would expect there to be worse societies compared to the West. Obviously, right? But we can't take that and conclude that Islam is going to be worse for society. Why? Because Islam doesn't inherently teach those things are going to be abhorrent.
Brother,
it doesn't.
We're talking about what these religions have produced. If we look through the whole of history, what has come from Islam? What has come from Christianity? Which has more cousin marriage today? The Islamic society or Christian? Which one?
So if I was to take this, for example,
which one?
Of course, Islam will be better.
Thank you. Islam has more cousin marriage.
No, so Islam will be better.
His question was, which society produced more cousin marriage?
Right. So this is very like flimsy because I don't know if we're talking about first cousin or like repeated cousin marriage.
First cousin marriage.
So I don't believe that first cousin marriage was like not repeated is going to be immoral. I don't believe that. We don't.
I'm not saying it is. I'm not saying cousin marriage is necessarily immoral, but it is. For example, eating sugar is not immoral.
Right.
But if you eat a lot of sugar, you're going to affect your health.
So
Likewise, we can set aside the moral issue on the table right now. We can set it aside.
Okay, beautiful.
Regardless, cousin marriage still makes worse societies. You just admitted there is more cousin marriage in Islamic society, and I'm even granting it's just a side effect. Doesn't matter. That shows Islam has produced worse societies. Case closed.
So if I was to take the sample back, when, let's say, for example, 70,000 Jews were unalived by the Christians, right? And we're living at the time, me and you are living at the time, and we say, hey, look, we see more violence perpetrated by the Christians from the Roman Catholics against the Jews.
That is not true at all.
From that time, if we're having the same debate at that time, we're then for that because Christianity is going to be more violent towards Jews, that therefore Islam will be better as society?
So again,
would it follow? No.
No. You
have to answer this question.
No. So,
it's not
reset
true.
the question because
it's not true. He just said that in general, right? He pointed to one example where a Christian society was more violent than a Muslim one. That's an anomaly. It's an outlier. It's an outlier of the general truth that Islam is more violent than Christianity. That's a crazy
irrelevant to what we're talking about. We're talking about cousin marriage. You're talking about violence.
Yeah, because we're talking about which is better, right?
Yeah, which has produced better societies.
If we're at a time when 70,000 Jews were unalived by the Romans, by the Christians, at that point, and we're having the same debate, and we saw that Christianity or Christian countries will produce more violence, would you then agree that at that point, if we're having the same debate... Wait, one second. At that point, let me finish. At that point, if we're having the same debate, you would agree that Christianity would have been producing more violence. It would be worse, right?
So in a possible world, not our world, where there's more violence.
Right.
Okay, so yeah. If it's producing more violence, it's bad. Guess what? Islam produces more violence.
So it's arbitrary. Thank you.
No, I didn't.
Historically speaking, Christianity was the worst religion, and it got a little bit better
You just cooked
over
yourself.
time.
You don't realize.
Beautiful.
You said in a possible world, if a society is producing more violence, that's bad. I got some bad news for you. There's been studies shown. For example, Davis Brown's book, War, Religion, in a Secular Age, shows that Christianity has a restrictive war ethic. It produces less interstate armed conflict. Meanwhile, Islam has a permissive war conflict. So not only do we have more child marriage, we have more abuse, we have more cousin marriage, as you admitted. Now we're going on to violence. Guess what? Islamic societies are producing more violence, as the research by Davis Brown, Jonathan Fox, Monica Duffy-Toff has shown. So guess what? In your possible world, when we apply it to this reality, it shows Islam is more violent. Thank you for that.
I expose you because now your criteria has become arbitrary.
No, it isn't.
It is.
No.
Because I just shown you that the studies that you're making are based upon factors that are to do with socio-economic factors in the Middle East.
No.
It doesn't account for all of history.
False.
And if we were to
That is
take,
false.
So let me finish. And if we take that back the sample size to a point where there was violence perpetrated against
the socio-economic factors in question are IQ. That's the socioeconomic factors in question.
Women, children, then you would consider in that possible world where it was a reality at some point.
Possible world.
That was
not a reality.
That was a reality at some point. That Christianity would be better.
No, it wasn't.
Thank you.
No, it wasn't. Here's the problem.
So
you don't know how these studies work. Okay, they don't just go, a lot of violence happened over there, less violence happened over there, therefore better.
That's
so
straw man.
Davis Brown, for example, factors in those socioeconomic factors you were bringing up. So they're taking this kind of stuff in. They're factoring in things like poverty, like education levels, regional disputes, fighting over resources. And after they factor all those things in, they're still finding that Islam is producing more interstate armed conflict.
What was the evidence for that?
Davis Brown's book, War, Religion, in a Secular Age.
Right, so what was the evidence that the socioeconomic factors are going to be insignificant in relation to Islam?
The socioeconomic, because he factored them in. He's factoring in like, so he's looking
how is it that he factored them in
so
and came
he's
to the
looking
conclusion
at
that Islam
multiple,
is going to be as cause?
He's looking at multiple countries.
Right.
So he's looking at countries in North America, Middle East, Europe, Asia, Africa, all around. And then he says, well, okay, now we need to use the model to weigh in certain things. So we need to add a weight to poverty. Because, for example, countries in Europe are going to be richer.
Right.
So we need to now know, could all the interstate armed conflict be coming from higher levels of poverty? Okay, no, we're still finding the variable there even when we factor in poverty. Could it be coming over education levels?
Okay.
No, we're still finding that.
So for
that's
example,
why sociologists run these models.
If you look at like a country like Indonesia, right, where it is a Muslim country, right, where we see that it has a good GDP, where it is performing relatively well, and it's a Muslim country, that would undermine the study done by these researchers in case. I'll tell you why. Why? Because we're looking at sample size. We're looking at whether or not poverty will essentially be a factor. So we have two countries. Both are Muslim, right?
No, that's not what. Just because poverty is a factor doesn't mean that that factor wasn't taken into account, and the data still demonstrated that Islam was a driving factor in these studies. Because IP is not saying that poverty isn't a factor. He's saying that it was a factor.
That's
and it
poverty.
was
One does
factored
have
in.
poverty, and we see these issues exceedingly happen in countries where there is poverty.
Yes, poverty is a factor that also contributes to interstate armed conflict, just like Islam does. Another factor.
Yeah,
so multiple factors.
wouldn't be
So
bad.
if you're a country that
The
is
number one factor, guys, is going to be IQ. Like on all these studies, it's always going to come down to IQ. Like that's why when you have a white person who is in poverty compared to a black person who is not in poverty, right? The black person, the data demonstrates that they are actually more prone to violence, right, than the white person in poverty. Okay, so like it's about general IQs of people. That's the number one factor.
Islamic and poor, you have more violence. If you're a country like, for example, Dubai, UAE, who has wealth but Islam, you're going to have less interstate armed conflict, less wars, less civil wars, that kind of stuff. Poverty is also a factor. I'm not denying there are not other factors, but Islam is still a factor.
That's the whole point, is that you can't just say that it's because of Islam. It is mainly these other factors that are coming into play. Because if it's the case, it's Islam, okay, then you are saying effectively it's a sufficient cause. It literally goes back to every single point that you make.
Okay, so I need to know what you're saying. Are you saying that if there are any other factors involved in society, we cannot say Islam is a cause of more war?
No, that's not what I'm saying at all. I'm saying the opposite. I'm saying even if it's the case, there are other factors, okay? It's in order for Islam to be the reason as to why this is the case, it would have to be prevalent in every single one of those Islamic societies, okay? But since it's the case that we observe the opposite, where it's not the case in every single society, so for example, if we're going to take the violence thing, Pakistan versus UAE, right? What we observe is that due to the fact that one of them is more affluent than the other one, there is less violence that is occurring, correct?
More affluent, so if there's more wealth is what you mean?
Yeah.
More wealth does decrease interstate armed conflict. Another factor.
But both of them have two factors that are being weighted or traded right now. Okay, one of them is going to be the wealth, the other one's going to be Islam in and of itself. Okay, but what we find is that not both of them have these issues occurring in them at the same rate. Correct?
Yeah, not at the same rate. Yeah, that's why they have to be weighed.
So it can't be due to specific. And by the way, that also, the part about the UAE and the violence part, there's still going to be poverty-stricken areas in the UAE, such that those violence or that violent stuff can occur in those areas, right? But typically, the more affluent areas, you don't find that there. Correct?
The more affluent areas, yes, will have less fighting.
Right.
Gang.
It's typically in the areas that have fundamentalist views. Correct?
Not
traditionalist ones.
Yes.
Right. Not traditionalist views. Correct?
Depends on how you define traditionalists or fundamentalists.
Meaning people who just want to take their own interpretation as opposed to those who are taking an orthodox interpretation of Islam.
We're getting way off top. This is irrelevant to the point, though.
What you're trying to do, directly to the point.
What you're trying to do is trying to say that if you can show any other factor, then we can say that's the cause of the interstate armed conflict. Okay, but that's not how that works.
That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying you can't come to the conclusion that it is because of Islam that this
Yes, I
is
can.
the reason. No, you can.
It is one of the reasons.
Okay,
You're
yes,
strawmanning
one of
me.
the reasons. Hold on, one of the reasons.
Thank you. It is one of the reasons. That's all I wanted.
In the same way that Christianity was one of the reasons why the Crusades happened, why it was one of the reasons why the Jews were persecuted and Muslims saved them afterwards.
So for anyone that doesn't believe me here, I'll put this in the chat so you guys can see this yourself. So there's a ton of these, but there's a ton of these studies that show that poor white communities are less violent than wealthy black communities. And you guys can see the data breakdown here. Yeah, this is insane. But the sons of black families from the top 1% had about the same chance of being incarcerated on a given day as the sons of white families earning $36,000. So you guys can go and I'm gonna save this actually, so I have this. So it's IQ is the number one factor, not socioeconomic.
It goes the same way both ways. That's
So it's one of the
whole point.
reasons.
In the same way that Christianity was one of the
Which
reasons.
is producing less conflict.
Depends on what time period you're talking about. Because if we're talking about back then, we were talking about the
Which has
Crusades.
produced a society that has produced less conflict.
No, the guy saying that this proves it has nothing to do with religion. No, that's incorrect, because the point is the reason why Christian societies, and I point out Lebanon for an example all the time, right? So Lebanon, the Christian communities in Lebanon actually have less inbreeding and higher IQ than the Muslim communities, because Islam encourages inbreeding, whereas Christianity does not. Okay, so it is an issue of religion, not just race. So no, it's not a self-owned dude. I didn't realize we had a pagan clown in the comments that I had to refute. So I'm out of room on Super Chat, so I need to go through these right now, even though we're in the last. We have 15 minutes left. All right, thank you for the Indian tax, resident Indian. Steph Dat says Ben is finally sponsored by the Mets. I am not. I am not sponsored by the Mets. Thank you, Blake's. What are your thoughts on priests like Father Turbo telling white men to have no tribal identity? Well, that's not what he says. So Father Turbo agrees that like whites can have. Oh my gosh, bro! I'm literally like. This dude said Lebanese are literally mixed. What does that have to do with anything? That's my point, bro. They're not. It's a non-white group, and you have higher IQ. The Christians in Lebanon are higher IQ than the Muslims. That's the whole point, dude. Oh my goodness. All right, I need to lock in. What are your thoughts on priests like Father Turbo telling white men to have no tribal identity? He doesn't tell them that. He tells them to have. Father Turbo agrees you can have identity in your ethnicity. But race is not ethnicity, right? Race is a category, it's above, right? It's a higher umbrella than ethnicity, right? So Father Turbo and I think actually agree a lot on this issue. I don't use welfare. Thank you, Abstract. I don't use welfare. I think it's just because my grandma does. I mostly think it needs to be abolished. Yeah, I agree. It needs, I mean, for the most part, I think it should be, like I've talked about before, it needs to be incentivized. It needs to be incentivized to, like, welfare programs should be pushed for like children in wedlock and things of that nature. That should be really the form of welfare that we have. All right, what the freak is this guy saying now? That's because of race genius. Christian Lebanese are genetically distinct to Muslim Lebanese. Bro, there is a positive correlation. All the studies that have been done on this show that there's a positive correlation between inbreeding and low IQ. Okay? That's where the correlation is. So when Islam encourages inbreeding and produces low IQ societies in Lebanon, while the Christian societies are not inbreeding and have higher IQs, guess what? It's because of inbreeding, which is a religious factor. My goodness, dude. It's like these people are so dense. You know what the pagans were doing, bro? Do you know what the pagans were doing before they were Christianized? Go study how barbaric they were before they were Christianized. Specifically the Germanics. They were barbarians before they became Christian. Thank you, Abstract. I am not debating Junior. I'm debating Hassan Shibli because Junior backed out. He ran from the debate. So I'm debating Hassan Shibli on Tim Pool on August 8th. Hassan Shibli is a much more well-respected Muslim anyway, so that's a good thing. Is this the resident Indian again? Thank you. If this is the resident Indian again, thank you. The whole culture thing proves IP's point, being stuck in backwards culture from 6th century Arabia. Yeah, so true, King. So true. Thank you. I assume Jesus, not Jesus. I don't know. But thank you for the 200 joules. I think that's like $2. I don't know. CIA subversion wizard says nothing more annoying than Muslims yapping. So true, King. So true. Abstract says she's reading off ChatGPT. Probably. That's what it seems like. A lot of these guys just do AI, especially in their lives on like TikTok. Nick, thank you for the super chat. Says would love to see someone lecture through Higher Martyr Daniel's book on Islam. That would be a great idea. That would be an excellent idea. I've quoted him before on some of my threads on Twitter, so maybe it's something I should do. Abstract again says, Ben, you don't understand. Muslims saved the Jews from being persecuted by Christians. No comments. YouTube's gonna ban me if I say what I want to say about that. All right, let's continue.
Depends on the time period, like I just said.
Okay, today, right now,
let's say now.
which all of history together, which has produced societies that have less conflict?
Depends on which societies we're talking about still.
Islamic
Because if we're
versus Christian.
Hold on. Because there are different Islamic and Christian societies.
Oh my gosh.
Which has produced
The point is
less
generally speaking.
Okay, fine. I'll answer your question. No problem. I'm going to compare Mexico and the UAE. UAE has definitely done it less.
Okay, so we're now gonna cherry pick samples here, guys.
That's effectively what you're saying.
Only today. Who is better, Christianity or Islam?
Look at what just happened.
Nice, man.
Hey,
We
even
just
Brian agrees,
cherry
right?
picked because she knows that the Islamic society at large has produced worse countries with more
I just
child
gave you an
marriage,
example.
more consanguineous marriages.
Yeah, and even
more-
UAE guys, like there's still significant inbreeding in UAE. And they also have apostasy laws. They also have the death penalty. They also, I'll go over the rest of the super chats at the end of the video, guys. Thanks for the super chats. I'll go over the rest at the end. Here, UAE. They also have the death penalty for apostasy, but I want to see. Bro, you really can't make this shit up, bro. This is their crown jewel. This is their crown jewel, bro. 50 to 65%. Are you kidding me? This was what she was citing. This is what she was citing, bro. My goodness. My goodness. This shit is so cooked, bro. And you know what? They just have money. That's it. Like, it's just because they have money.
abuse.
What about
and now
Brazil?
more conflict.
That's why they have
This
any
is
development at all is because they have money there.
all coming out of Islam. And we just saw that. That's
Western
why this
money.
is what the data shows. At the end of the day, this is not a debate. This is just one of us talking about the numbers and one of us trying to get rid of the numbers.
Brazil's got those high numbers of consanguineous marriage as well, and it's a Christian country.
Okay?
Is Christianity a reason?
Who produces less?
Right, is Christianity
the
a
whole
reason for
point
that?
is that
produces
you're
less?
going based off of a particular Islamic country or a few particular ones. It's not the case in every single Islamic country.
Yeah, so, and this manual dude is just like, this has got to be rage bait, bro. It's just got to be rage bait. There's just no way this guy is serious right now, bro. There's just no way. Because, he does need help. Because a lot of the data about Russia is it's outdated. It's from like the Soviet era. It's all propaganda. It's all anti-Soviet propaganda, and it's outdated. It's from like the 90s. What Putin has been able to accomplish, look, say what you want about Putin, but what he has been able to accomplish economically in Russia and morally, the abortion rate, go look at the abortion rate in the 90s compared to now. See how much it's dropped. Yeah, exactly. UAE was built and developed by Western contractors. Exactly. They do it with our money and our technology.
Is it the case that it's like that in every single Christian country?
No.
Good. So then that can't be a factor to say one is better than or worse than the other.
Here's what you're not getting.
Oh my God.
When you factor in all the countries, you see this as a reoccurring thing where you're going to get more consanguineous marriages.
Yes,
you're
we
gonna
find
get
it in
more
both
Hold on, let
Christianity
me
and
finish.
Islam.
I just let you talk.
No, you
I
don't.
just let you talk.
You find it at a disproportionate rate in Islam, bro. This rage bait is insane.
It's going to be okay.
Okay.
It's okay.
Insane.
We're still seeing that after that is all weighed. For example, you brought up Brazil, but there are other weighing factors there. So when we take all the Christian countries together, what are we going to get? Well, it doesn't seem Christianity is a motivating factor. We see this as more cultural. But when we look at the Islamic societies, we still see it vastly there after it's weighed. So this still works against you.
Thank you for proving my point.
Hold up.
You literally just proved my point.
My
that it's
point that Islam is causing more problems?
My point is specifically that it cannot be tied to one particular thing, such as religion.
Once again, I never said
it
that.
cannot be a sufficient cause.
Once again, I never said that.
Like you just said, when you were using the example of Brazil, you said culture, society, economics,
I'm about
all
to
of
crash
these different
out,
things
bro.
are factors, correct?
Brian,
I don't know if I can make it the last 13 minutes. I'm about
did
to
I ever
crash
say
out.
that one...
Appeal to Brian fallacy.
Did I ever say that Islam is the only cause of these
I
problems?
didn't say only. I said
Exactly.
sufficient
Thank
cause.
you.
You're
Thank
literally,
you.
you're
And you
purposely
keep-
not
you
listening.
keep- you keep trying to
Have I said only
sufficient.
or I said sufficient?
That is completely
Thank you.
irrelevant.
Thank you.
So
It's
you keep
literally
strawmanning me.
not.
So you're strawmanning me.
I'm strawmanning.
Yes, you
That's
are.
literally been my point since the beginning of when you first started your arguments. I'm
That
asking
sufficient
you.
cause?
Yes.
Yes, it is one of the sufficient causes.
Oh my God. That's
And
not
by
what
the way,
sufficient-
actually, no, sufficient cause literally means it completely explains it. If you look up the actual definition, that's actually what it means. It literally does mean this is the complete cause of this particular result.
Cause is a
you're just
sufficient
defining
cause.
it out of existence.
No, a sufficient cause. A sufficient
primary
cause.
number one.
No, not even primary number one. It's
He doesn't
literally
even get what you're saying.
Okay, it literally means that it is sufficient. It is not. Nothing else is necessary in order for us to observe this particular thing to occur in a society.
And that's not
that
my
doesn't
point.
mean that other factors can't come into play and then increase this afterwards.
Exactly.
Okay, what you're supposed to
Exactly.
try and prove is that beyond 50%, let's say, okay, beyond a 50% chance, that every single time we observe Islam in a society, that this is the case that it's going to occur. And then the more these other factors are brought into play, the more we're going to see this particular thing occur. But you haven't done that. All you're doing, hold on, all you're
Bro,
doing
this is the slowest. We got 12 minutes left.
is
This
picking at
is so
particular countries,
painful.
particular rates, particular factors, and saying, oh, Islam is worse because of this. But then when we bring you to certain examples as it pertains to your own theology, as it pertains to your own book, as it pertains to the history of your beliefs, or not your beliefs specifically, but Christianity in general, you don't address those things. Because those same things can be observed in those same countries, same history,
No,
same
they
books, etc.
can't.
So you have to
Oh my
actually
goodness. No, they can't. That's the entire point. It is disproportionate in Muslim countries.
engage with some of this stuff instead of just saying, well, it was just Islam.
So once again, I am not, because I didn't perform the studies. The experts did. They had the weighed factors, and they found Islam is a contributing factor in these instances. It is definitely making societies more violent, causing more abuse, linked to more consanguineous marriages, more child marriage. These are all bad. And because of that, Islam is worse for societies. When we look at all the countries, what do we find? We don't just pick out UAE and Mexico. We look at all of them because we recognize in these countries there are other factors that are going to weigh those kinds of things. More wealth is going to cause less violence. Everyone agrees on that. But also, religious ideology is going to cause less or more violence. Religious ideology of Christianity, less, according to the research. Islam, more, according to the research. Go ahead.
Okay, so wealth is a cause of violence. So therefore, we should blame. We should blame wealth. We should blame wealth. Someone wants to rob somebody else. So therefore, the problem is the money that he has.
What on earth are you talking about?
What I'm saying here is that your argument is a bit ridiculous to me.
The citing research is ridiculous.
What I'm saying here is that you're basically trying to blame Islam for certain things, and so it's no different than blaming money. Well, if someone wants to do a robbery, so you blame money for that.
Sir, I agree that if you have less wealth, if you have a society that has less wealth, poverty is a contributing factor to more violence.
No,
I agree with you there. However, religious ideology does as well. For example, you guys communists? Anyone a communist here?
No.
Communism is bad, right? Okay, communism is an ideology that produces far inferior economic progress. So if you have communism in Russia, where they have a ton of resources, they had inferior economic progress. If you have communism in Somalia, where they don't have as much resource, that's going to produce even worse results. So when you take an ideology and infuse it in a society, it's going to affect outcomes. When you take Christianity and you infuse it in America, okay, it's going to produce better results than if you did it with Islam. Now, if you go to, for example, like Ethiopia, which is poorer, less resources, it's going to have worse results because of other factors. But ideology is still a contributing factor that's going to lead to more violence. That's my point. And by the way, I'm not saying that. The experts like Davis Brown are saying that. Monica Duffy Toff, Jonathan Fox, these guys ran the numbers and they go, yep, Islam is definitely producing inferior societies because of things like conflict.
Okay. I just one small question. Do you think that if, for example, if we were to go back, let's say again in the history. Okay.
Guys, how much you want to bet what she's about to say is going to completely blow past everything you just said and have almost no relevance to it?
And we were to observe that certain Islamic states or areas were more affluent, more progressive, more etc. Than Christian societies, where we observe things like, the Black Plague era or anything of the sort, whilst Islam has its thriving Islamic golden age. Would you say that Islam is going to be better than those Christian societies overall?
Only if you can
in those time periods?
Only if you can weigh out the other factors. Now, you brought up Black Death, then I would say no. Because they're clearly suffering from a horrible epidemic.
But it's not the reason as to why they're suffering from this epidemic is also due to things in regards to their own ways and traditions, etc. and culture.
I'm starting to think they do not have the IQ to understand that these studies that IP is citing, they take into account these other factors. I genuinely am I don't know if they just this doesn't compute. Do they not have the ability to understand that? Because they continue to revert back to this same talking point that doesn't address. They keep bringing up other factors, and IP keeps trying to explain to them that these studies address the other factors. They take them into account. It's like they don't have the ability to comprehend
that. Can influence one of the ways.
Right. So I'm asking you specifically, that was just one example, but I'm saying generally speaking, okay, as it pertains to those societies, we know that there are certain societies that were Christian, that were affluent, and there were certain Islamic societies that you can't negate were also affluent and contributed many major things towards societies, correct? Do you at least agree with that?
Do I agree that Islamic societies have contributed?
Certain aspects of Islamic societies have contributed to beneficial things to society. Okay, good. Yeah. So there are certain times
in spite of Islam, because they rape and pillage, and so they don't ever build anything because of Islam, bro. Raymond Ibrahim has a great breakdown of this. It's never because of Islam. It's because of examples like during the golden age, right? The golden age of Islam, it was because of already prosperous societies, right? That then just converted to Islam, right? It's not because of Islam that they prospered.
Societies, for example, there is I could bring you the reference if you'd like. But
she's searching up on ChatGPT.
There was two teachers in the Catholic Church where they got so worried to the point where they didn't want their students to be learning from individuals such as Averroes and Avicenna, the Islamic philosophers, because they felt like they were going to fall away from their faith due to the fact that they were so intellectually advanced. They were seen as geniuses, basically, of their time. And there are many other individuals who are like that. You have Al-Khwarizmi, you have Zawahiri, the father of surgery, the father of algorithms, etc., etc. All of these people have contributed major things, and inarguably in their time period, right, Islam was better than Christianity for society. Would you agree with that?
No.
Oh, you don't
I
agree with
wouldn't.
that? So
wouldn't.
Christianity,
Here's
when it
why.
was suffering, was better than
My
Islam.
goodness, they won't let me. I try to
Go
say
ahead,
and I
go
try to
ahead.
expound.
Yeah,
they won't
that's
do it.
utter nonsense.
No, because I already told you they are contributing.
And all of that stuff was from Byzantine tech. They stole it from the Byzantines, bro. All that shit was already invented before Islam even shows up. We already had hospitals. We already had universities. We already had all this shit, bro. And they are just copying it. We already had all this technology.
Factors that are going to weigh those kinds of things.
Right.
We can't take time machines back and do those. We can do those studies today. And we see that Christianity is producing better societies. So when you go into places like Europe, for example, during the Muslim Golden Age, you have to factor in all sorts of things like environmental aspects coming from the north, like more cold weather, okay? Those kind of, like Norman invasions as well. Okay, these are contributing factors. So you just want to say, you want to do what's called a bivariate means comparison. Do you know what that is?
Yeah.
Okay, great. You just want to say, okay, we're observing progress during this Muslim Golden Age. We're not observing it there. Therefore, Islam is better. That's a bivariate means comparison. That's not a multivariable analysis. Okay. You can't do that multivariable analysis, but we can today. And what do we see? Islam is producing inferior societies. So at the end of the day, when we take the collection of history up to today, Christianity has produced better societies. It's just a fact. That's what the data shows.
Let's let you guys do closing statements.
Okay.
At the end of the day, there's a difference here. I'm citing data. I'm citing experts. And they're showing, yes, Islam is producing inferior society.
We're gonna skip closing statements because I'm like losing my mind, and we've already seen all the arguments. So, all right, I got one other super chat to go over. Any other books you recommend? Jade Dyer said Spooks and Vatican Spies. You recommend anything for politics, geopolitics? Bro, Pat Buchanan, bro. You got to get Pat Buchanan's books. I'm about to be making a lot of content around some books that I've just gotten in. But if you haven't read Death of the West yet, my Pat Buchanan, bro, that is a absolute must read because it really lays the groundwork for like where we're at today. So I would definitely start there. If you haven't read Death of the West by Pat Buchanan, he was way ahead of his time. That's why I have right from the beginning, right behind me here. And then also in my stack behind there, I also have Churchill, Hitler, and the Unnecessary War. So yeah. All right. I'm going to cut into my members only stream, guys. I have a church father, or not church father, a saint quote that is too spicy for the mainstream. So I'm going to show it on my members only stream. So if you want to sign up for memberships to support me monthly, I think I got it set for, what do I have it set for, guys? $5.99 a month or something. So you can sign up for memberships to join here in the stream. Here, let me go to, oh, come on. We'll cut to it in a minute here. Members only live stream, 1 minute. All right, so in 1 minute, we're going to be cutting to members only live stream. Otherwise, please like and subscribe, guys. If you're not already subscribed, please subscribe to my channel. Please like the live. So push it out to the algorithm. This was a great stream today. Thanks for tuning in. Oh shoot, I need to end the I'm gonna end the the Twitter stream here. Thanks y'all for tuning in. I'm at Real Ben Michael on all platforms. 6 seconds. Yeah, so at Real Ben Michael on all platforms, especially Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube. Thanks, guys.